72. That's what episode we're on. 72 is the episode number for this one. Plat Chat episode 72. Welcome to Plat Chat Overwatch, everybody. We know that you've missed these episodes.
Yeah.
You know?
Siri's missed these episodes.
Yep.
Who?
Siri.
Oh.
Jonathan's dog.
Oh, they can't see Siri, though, because I'm cropped.
Exactly. As soon as I reference Siri, I realize that only I can see Siri. No one else can see Siri. Because
every time I record Plat Chat,
portrait mode.
my dog just wants attention.
Okay.
I have missed these episodes, though,
Absolute nutcase next to me. We got a couple of topics to kind of breeze through.
Are we going to introduce our guests? Or?
Oh, yeah, we got Avast
Yeah, are we going to introduce me?
Hell.
Are we going to introduce me? My battery's dying on my headsets, by the way. So.
Okay, well, I'll give you a second.
Are we introducing everybody?
Yep.
I can't fix it.
Okay,
I can't fix it.
Plug your thing in.
God,
come on.
Absolute
Can you hear us now? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you the whole time. I can hear you the whole time. I was just
well, yeah, as you can see, Connor Prince is joining us here for this one. Because Matt is essentially working for the Death Star these days. He can't come on the episodes as often, as frequently.
Especially if we're just ranting.
Yeah, especially if
it is Sunday, though.
Is he a corpo? You know, if a
corpo
cyberpunk fan out there, maybe a corpo.
He's doing his best, you know. He's bridging the gap.
He really is. Yeah.
You know?
He's joined the system from the inside to try and make it listen to the system. The problem is, at that point, you just get assimilated into the system, don't you? You just become part of it. Another cog in the machine.
The plot of some early 2000s sci-fi film. But yeah,
joining a company.
Joining
a company.
There he is.
Oh, wait, there it is.
Yep.
It's okay. This is gonna be an incredible episode because we usually record on Monday evenings, but it's actually like Sunday morning now. You guys, it's at least like 11 a.m. for you people. It's 9 a.m. for me, so I'm gonna be in prime condition. I'm looking forward to this. Good. This is going to be a banger of an episode.
Well, the people expected this episode on Monday, but it's actually coming out on Tuesday.
Yep.
And we originally wanted to be on the button, but then as people in the tweets were saying, you guys basically discussed this entire topic about the LA Valiant last time anyway, didn't you? But I want to draw a distinction. There's a difference between when you don't know what the company's going to say and when the company comes out and says
something. But we're not going to talk about that yet.
I'm ready.
Because we're gonna go over instead the World Cup review first, which is the little mock World Cup that we did, the Plat Chat World Cup. Where we faced off, we pitted our teams against one another, and you, the people, could vote on them by going over to Plat Chat Podcast. You can't vote anymore, by the way, but you did vote in the end.
Nice.
This is mimicking the fact that you can't vote. It's the void. It's the void of votes. It's
Just
done.
a little
You
dip
can't
into
vote
the
anymore.
void.
The ether, the ether comes for us all. Life is meaningless.
Very
we
good.
go.
Very good.
There it is.
Anyway, so we did some voting, and we gave South Korea the bye in the first round.
I think is atrocious. Why was the USA not given a bye? They were the winners from last year. What the heck?
Anyway,
Didn't hurt them at the end of the day, though.
didn't hurt them. They still
Just
ended up
mute
winning.
him.
The earlier teams, who won out of these teams then? It was Denmark over Canada, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that was one of the first ones, I'm
but
pretty sure.
quite a bit as well. Like Twitter was on the ball here. They really believed in Denmark.
I mean, that's very fair. Canada doesn't have a tank line still. They don't have tanks.
Yeah.
They don't have tanks to play with.
Yeah.
Also,
looking at these rosters,
people kept referring to last year's World Cup and how they flopped.
Yes.
But they kept drawing to that as evidence that they would flop here, despite it being a theoretical game, and also very.
And XQC isn't there getting ready to play Overwatch 2.
Yeah. But Denmark ended up winning this one. I think this is quite reasonable. I think the people chose wisely here.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well done, peasants.
What?
I feel like there's I always feel there's such a modest experiment overtones or modest proposal, I should say,
Animosity
overtones from this at times when I discuss like anything related to Plat Chat or Sideshow and you, Bren, like it's all like watch the plebeians fight for our entertainment as we sip wine and everything. Like everything, all the vibes are just so. It feels like very like Roman counselor living in their villa type of thing. They have the gladiators going on. That's what it always feels like all the time.
Yeah, it's how I live my life
It's entertainment, isn't it?
these days.
Yeah.
I've developed a
They outlawed badger baiting, so we had to turn to the people.
fucking hell.
Badger baiting. I don't even know what that is.
Badger baiting.
Very don't worry about it.
A horrific
Badger baiting is a
practice.
form of blood sport in which
Yes.
badgers are baited with dogs.
Yeah, it's truly horrific.
A baiting session typically results in the death of the badger.
Okay,
Sounds very
all right.
European.
The more you go into it, the more horrific it is. It was supposed to be a bit of a like throwaway joke about how I was acting like a removed, upper class, unempathetic
class,
individual.
yeah.
I wouldn't actually promote that at any point.
But now we've delved into it, so we should go a little bit deeper.
No, we shouldn't.
We should really dissect the joke to
Well,
get
I
Josh
think
cancelled.
we should discuss all angles of it, possibly at this point.
Who did win the next qualifier? What else do we have? I mean,
this. What was the most one-sided of all of the games? Because I think it might have been this one. What did the voting?
sure. What was
I
the
don't
voting
know.
on this one?
Some of the voting for the South Korean games
we-
ended up being like 90-7 or something. But look at
Okay,
that.
oh, God, yeah.
89.
89.7 to 10.3.
That's actually kind of. I would have honestly, because the first round lineup right was Denmark, Canada, wasn't it?
Yep.
I kind of feel like that should have been the most one-sided comparatively, simply because
it's very
Denmark
close.
actually has players on roles that matter.
Contenders tank line and Kellex and Slay as a support line against Canada. Do you think it's like overwhelming? Like
Canada, yeah. I mean, Canada's
Okay.
a big country.
You know,
Prince.
I'm on it. You know, that's maybe a hot take from myself, maybe a hot take, but I'm standing by it still. I'm
Okay.
standing by it still.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
He never backs down from a take that he makes. Once the larynx is spoken, the brain sticks by it.
I feel that way. That's my
Speaking
gut
of larynx,
reaction.
Yep.
I've been playing so much Overwatch ranked recently.
Oh, yeah?
And the amount of people in my game that were born without a larynx is tragic.
It really is. It's a blight
it's
that
quite
affects
sad.
the Overwatch scene.
I've been trying to grind my way up. I'm just going to hijack this segment to
No, go for it.
big up my own.
Go for it, King. I saw
Goals.
you were 15-7 yesterday.
Yeah, I was 15-7
He ended like 3,400. He's within breathing distance of
Ooh.
Masters.
I'm-
Someone
I'm-
actually
yeah.
needs to take him
Yeah,
down.
I mean, I will say as well, I was queuing with Smex on an off roll, which helps tremendously because he fucking comms the entire time. Not the entire time, like I solo queued about 50% of the games. But I'm making it my goal to get to Masters in DPS and tank, and then beyond that point, I'm gonna get GM in a role because I went on to Super stream the other day, and I'm fucking calling them out here. And Super said, he said in his little Super voice, he was like, I firmly believe that everyone in my chat can get GM. And then someone in his chat donated bits and said, oh, Bren's looking for pro players to coach him to get to Masters in each role. And he went, well.
Why is he? Okay. Yeah.
Well, there are some outliers. Is what he said on his stream. And so now I'm fucking determined to prove him wrong.
Did that hurt your feelings?
It did hurt my feelings because he said I could not get GM. You know,
Yeah. I mean, he's completely right.
fuck no, he's not.
No,
right.
he is. If you weren't
he's
getting boosted
not.
by Smex, then there's no chance that you could make GM. Plus, I don't think that the maths even works out. He normally streams to like 2,000 or 3,000 people, right? If they all suddenly became GM players, the game would rebalance it out and throw some of them back down to Masters.
Maybe.
Unless he's planning to reintroduce more bronze players to balance it out and just give the game to a bunch of fingerless bots.
His point was that everyone was capable of getting GM because he was. I think the point was that it was a mentality thing. Like
It's mathematically not true.
but it's like a
Sideshow's not at
mentality
the
thing.
supply side economics.
Not at the
of
same
SR,
time.
huh?
Not all of them being raised up.
That's like saying
some sort of form of
everyone's
universal
capable of being
basic
the
income.
1%. Just pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
No.
is
no.
GM the 1%?
I think it's
GM
actually...
is 100% the 1%. It is 100% the 1%.
Oh, that might be right, actually.
Yeah, no, GM is a very small amount. You have to realize that the majority of people they're like Dogecoin for 2069 and they're playing in like silver and they've been playing Rhine for the past like 5 years. So
Yeah. People, Super just wants to be the like populist voice of the people.
I think he's got a point there.
Yeah, well, maybe
Because
listen,
I think
it's good if you've been inspired by it. That is positive. Whether or not it's true is honestly irrelevant. Because if you get inspired by it to become better, there you go. He's done some good in the world.
Prove all of you wrong.
Super is gonna come out and just be like, we need to raise the amount of people who can be Grandmaster, so we can all be Grandmaster. We need to increase the bracket range.
But I think he's got a point because I think it's a mentality thing. Like as long
I
as
don't think so.
As long as you're maintaining an above 51% win rate, and you're like actively thinking, you're having some critical thinking skills about your own gameplay, about your decision making, about what you're playing, what you're playing into, you can get a GM because it's like a numbers game at that point. It's like literally just throwing games into it, you know, just literally queuing.
But you've made the assumption there that every single person who plays Overwatch is capable of a 51% win rate. Even as the games get harder and harder and harder, everyone's capable of winning 51% of their games, right? No. No, I mean, physically, no, they're not. Because if everyone was winning 51%, what happens to the missing 49%?
Those are the ex-GM players, the older ones. As the new
Right,
ones
they just
rise to
cycle
take
it
their
out.
spots. Yeah. Anyway, we don't have to get into this. I just wanted to pick apart Matthew DeLisi for a second. Use my own little soapbox here.
Yep.
To make that proclamation.
Okay. Very cool. Moving on to whatever the hell
moving on
we
to the
were
rest of the
talking
World Cup.
World Cup, yeah. We were at Sweden, France moving forward. Well, I mean, it's quarterfinals. Who cares? No, let's not talk about Sweden, France. Can we skip this one?
I'm surprised that France was voted for so much. Like when I was looking at France, I was like, bro, putting FD God and Dredro together was a bit of a shot in the dark, you know?
You think they voted? You think they took that into account when they put their vote in on the Twitter poll?
I don't
France
know.
may have not done that.
Why?
I think you give too much credit to the actual voters of this.
Maybe.
I think a lot of it was,
what's your argument?
I see Korea, I click.
Why is it? Why do you think this is such a crazy outcome necessarily?
I don't think it's crazy, but I do think the DPS is considerably better on Sweden, like considerably, to the point where it would make a big difference in the game. I think, okay, the tank line looks a little weaker, but I think it'd still be able to hold its own, roughly speaking. I don't think Poco would come out and just diff Elevote, even though that's the largest difference on the entire roster. And I think that the lack of a dedicated flex support would probably hurt France more so than like the slight weakness in terms of the tank line for Sweden. I just imagine Kevster and Sparker eating butts. That's what I'm imagining.
Okay,
Eating
Kurt,
butts.
can you see which quarterfinal match had the most votes? Votes.
Oh, I don't know whether you can see that.
Yeah,
actually,
you can.
you?
Yeah, it says
3,100,
3,100, 35, 3475. Okay. I thought there was voter manipulation going on from France, but obviously not. And I'm just, just a Swede that's a bit upset. But
I think they may
fair play.
They might have. I mean, the French user base, the fan base, is pretty large.
Yeah, there's
pretty vocal.
3,000 of them, isn't there?
And I would say that they're probably on the same level as the USA fan base. You know.
I think it was probably roughly the same people voting in all of these. I don't think people tune into the Plat Chat Twitter. They vote for Korea over Denmark, and then they're like, "My work here is done," and they slink into the night. They click on all of them. They vote in all of them.
Did you retweet any of these?
Yeah, I retweeted the original thread. I didn't retweet any specific one in order to vote manip the UK. Did you vote manip the UK?
No, I didn't vote manipulation the UK. I mean, a lot of my followers are US followers anyway. So I wouldn't be able to do that.
Why were there only 6 players for the UK? What happened to our 7th?
We had what's the Flex DPS's name?
We had visa issues. No, I had to drop the 7th.
What was his name? Backbone.
Backbone, yeah.
Wait, is his name Backbone? Am I just losing my mind?
I think it's I think it's Backbone. You want to look it up?
I don't know. Now I feel like I've got his name wrong, but it was something like that.
Don't you watch Contenders, Sideshow? Come on.
I'll search it.
Don't you watch Contenders?
Yeah,
Come
it
on.
is Backbone.
You have to know this.
It is Backbone.
Yeah,
okay, good.
It's Backbone.
Good.
For sheer cold.
I was surprised. Oh, well, no, maybe not. I was going to say that USA won by such a margin But I mean, it is the United States of America.
Are
so
you
maybe-
really surprised that
No,
US won by
in
such a margin?
hindsight, I am not. But I do think that in any other matchup, I think the UK would have gone far because statistically speaking, UK is the second largest Plat Chat demographic. So there's a lot of
Really?
voters from the UK. Yeah.
It is. It is.
But that would also imply that the UK voters would have to be delusional enough to think they would go really far. So I mean,
Oh yeah,
it's
that's
sort of
true.
a battle.
Actually, yeah,
I
they're
think-
not the most optimistic people of the world.
Is it a hot take that in a this is a hot take in a double hit scan meta, the UK would absolutely beat the US in
That is an extremely hot take. Extremely hot.
The
take.
UK would absolutely win.
in a double hit scan meta. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. I think they have a better backline, and I think they have Kai, the absolute god, on the squad.
Yeah.
And I think Fusions and Smex would have to just desperately try not to throw the game, and the UK would.
They'd be
manage
alright
to
though,
win.
because Smex would put duct tape over his mouth, so he wouldn't talk that much.
Right. And
And
just leave it to Fusions.
I think that the tank line difference would probably make up for that. Is my particular view. on it. At the
I
end
mean,
of the
if
day,
you're looking at the US tank line, you are looking at Super, who I think he might still have the number one spawn tank currently,
Maybe.
and Space.
Space is like number 2 or
Number
something.
two.
isn't he?
No, I think
I-
Orblue is up there.
yeah, I don't think that. I think it would actually make it. I think that's probably the best possible meta for UK is that they just put the big fat long wing experience of Kai and and KSP, and I think Hybrid's pretty good. So
If I was to big up my boy Smex for a second now, he did get number 9 on the tank ladder recently.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Incredible.
but like
Okay.
Red Shell was number 1 support. Like,
Yeah. Also, like top 500,
Pretty good.
the base currently is like 4,100. Is like top 500. Like
No
that's
way.
the SR.
Really?
But yes, it's extremely low.
It's fucking hope for me.
extremely low. When I took a break for like a year and then I came and played Overwatch, I played ranked for a bit. I was like top 500 within the span of like 3 months after decaying for not
Yeah.
paying for like a year.
Custer
It
got
was,
back
like,
into top
super
500.
Yeah.
No, he was like number 2 for a while.
Custer was like
Was he really?
4,600 ish.
Lord almighty, I didn't
Yeah.
realize. Man's
He's
been
like-
on the
He
ground.
was-
He
Grinded
was
the
number
game quite
2 on the support ladder, and then I tuned into a stream, and it was Friday, and he started drinking while queuing as number 2 support. And I was like, okay, this is just against everything I know. And I was like, who cares? Some free beverages, and I'm like, okay, just, Twitch your own.
All right,
You do
what
you.
happened in the semis then?
What did happen in this?
We had Korea versus France and USA China. I mean, USA China, actually, I was expecting the USA voters to vote for the USA, even though I think China would clearly win that game. This year. I think last year, obviously, USA was a better team,
Yeah.
but I think they're kind of missing Corey, Sinatra, and honestly, Raucus as well, even though I didn't think I would be saying that at this point.
Wow.
Oh, I think you're underrating. I'm gonna say there. I agree with Sinatra. I think Corey is a nutter for sure, but they've added Nero, who I think is like way better overall, a better projectile. Besides, like maybe even his Doom is really good. Like I think a projectile is equivalent to what Sinatra
Yeah.
could play, honestly.
Sure.
And then they have Dante, who's always been sort of playing second chair to Sinatra's Tracer in the past when they had similar hero pools. So I do think that the Sinatra Corey DPS line was better, but this isn't like a huge downgrade, honestly, in terms of like that DPS line, but it is a downgrade. And the biggest question is like Ultraviolet for Raucus. And I honestly feel like Ultraviolet is like, I've been keeping it. I remember when I was casting him in 2018 and early 2019, and he was pretty good, honestly. I think he has a lot of I think he's actually got a much better Zin than Raucus had, but Raucus definitely probably has a better Ana because that was like his hero. It's really more of like looking at, does the Chinese roster level up so much here that they beat the US? That's the
think
real
they do.
question for me. Think so?
I think so. I think that the people kind of agree as well. It's actually really
That's a
funny
good
to
poll.
watch it's really funny to look at the Twitter comments and see the split in opinion between the people that have been following the Chinese scene and the people that are just US based. Yeah, just reply to that comment.
Just scroll down, Kurt. Where at though?
Here we go.
Oh,
So there's there's a bunch of people who are like Yeah, a lot of the voters just didn't understand why people were voting for the other team. Like that person says, how is this even close? I don't even know which team they're referring to.
Yeah,
I don't know which team they're referring to.
I mean, honestly, I will admit this Chinese roster looks really, really scary, all things considered. But like, there isn't a clear tank line advantage in my opinion. Like, other than Gushui and Winston. Gushwei's Winston is way better than Super's, but I think Super matches Gushui, or especially on Ryan, on like every other role, and like it's better than him on like Ryan, and matches him on every other role. Like, Winston is the only clear like tank line advantage between these two squads. So. Yeah, I honestly think it's pretty close.
I think the tanks are very close though, and I think it ends up being a flex support and a little bit of a DPS diff as well. Because even though it depends what meta you would have, but I think we kind of fucked up in constructing the US roster because we couldn't think of a great like Widow, Ashe,
Hitscan player. Well, I don't think they had any good options.
Yeah, I know.
Dalton was, I think, the best choice, wasn't he?
I don't know. I mean, maybe if I was following American Tornado more closely, which I haven't been because none of their players are eligible for Owl, I would probably know that one of those guys is good at long-range hitscan. The fact of the matter is, I have no idea because I watched like 2 of their games. So
the real problem here is that it's highlighted the inadequacies in the American education system.
Yeah.
Here we go. Oh,
why? In what way?
We need to invest more money in the American education system.
Yeah, probably.
To educate what?
Overwatch predictions.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Well,
how do polls work?
The Overwatch
American Tornado has Hydron, by the way. Hydron's not bad at hits. Oh
yeah,
it's pretty good.
Yeah, I just don't know how good he is, so we didn't include him.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say
American education system.
We'll get on to some attempts that the Overwatch League is having to educate people in terms of their Overwatch predictions down the road. I think after we mold for a bit, Overwatch pick'ems seem to be coming.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
that's a topic for a later date.
Teaser. There you go.
All right, people. Okay, we're not done yet. Never mind.
Yeah, we're not finished yet.
I mean, we're pretty much finished. That's just the finals. At this
Skip
point.
the finals.
South Korea, China.
Yeah, and people actually voted, I think, overwhelmingly into South Korea again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy. I think 85%.
I think that's reasonable, though.
I think
it's not. Well,
team. I don't think they would have an 85% chance of winning this game. I think they would win, but I don't think it would be like China only has 15% chance.
You don't think?
Okay, frame it this way, Josh. How many games would China won in like a number of matches? Like, would they win 1 in 5, 1 in 4 matches? Would they beat Korea? 1 in 3?
Yeah. What do you think? I think maybe like 1 in 3 matches they would beat South Korea, something like that, or maybe like 1 in 3 maps, something more like that.
I think it's more like 1 in 5 or 1 in 6.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think this Chinese team is really good.
Yeah, the Chinese team's good. I agree with Josh. I actually think people are underrating China. Now I'm going to be honest and say I don't know a ton about it's Liga, right? It's like Liga. Yeah. I've seen some of his gameplay and people are saying he's really good. I actually have a soft spot I had a really soft spot for Elsa. I actually thought Elsa was like pretty good. Johnny, why are you laughing? What is it because it's a Frozen reference?
I like Elsa too, especially when he's on the Mei. You know, he played Mei on like Nepal Village once, and like
do you like that? Do you like that?
I think he played Symmetra for them once on Hanamura too.
He did play some at one point, but I actually felt that Elsa. Now, granted, I haven't seen the rest of Elsa's tanks. I just remember the Diva. But I actually felt like Elsa was a pretty cranial, a pretty cerebral off tank at times. So I liked Elsa, but apparently Liga is like the next big off tank pickup from China. So I'm interested to see how they do.
People were pissed that Lee Jae-gon was in this team.
Why? What? Over who?
Yeah. There's like a weird narrative of people. There's like a little subsection of people who really hate Lee Jae-gon because of his play style.
Because they think he's just getting it's the bumper effect, isn't it? It's where people just assume that you're getting away with murder because you're on a good team. Lee Jae-gon's probably the best flex support in the entire league. Main support. He's probably the best main support in the world right now. Like, the guy's bonkers.
I mean, I don't agree with that. But
you don't agree with that?
No,
who do you think is the best main support?
I think Moss better than him.
Yeah, I think Moss.
You guys are smoking crack.
Lee Jae-gong is 100% in the conversation for one of the best, but I actually do agree in that I think his playstyle is suboptimal, but he's just so good that it's fine. Like he's so good that he's one of the best main supports in the world. But I think objectively his playstyle is suboptimal.
The thing is though, he pushes the boundaries, right? So like if he's playing against a bad team
at times,
but if he's playing against a bad team that can't punish him, it's better to play as aggressive as possible so that you maximize your value, your output.
Yeah, but he can't. But he's not able to flip the ape switch. He's just apes together strong all the time. Like that's 100% an issue for him. It doesn't mean that he's not amazing. He's like for sure in the conversation to be like top 2, maybe number 1, depending on your side. But I think his playstyle is suboptimal.
I would also say
like a floating brain.
When people talk about main supports, they only really think in their brains Lucio a lot of the time. I think it's just inarguable that he has the best Brigitte in the league. When it comes to like the main support players that played it, like you could argue that Alarm was incredible when he played Brig. Like who was he even playing alongside? What was it like the Boombox? Was it Boombox? I'm not even sure it was though. Actually, I think it was Funny Astro at the time.
No, Astro was playing. Astro played a lot of Brigitte and Mercy for them.
Yeah, but then
Boombox came in to play BAP Zin, didn't he?
Alarm played Brig in the March.
He played a lot of BAP, and then they had Alarm playing Zin.
I thought they swapped it over for the Countdown Cup and the Summer Showdown, where Alarm was playing the Brig and Funny was playing the Funny.
Yeah, because there was a whole thing about Chipsa defending that. I think not Chipsa. His brother Christopher like defended putting Alarm on Brig because it was like a crucial role, like shutting down the Genji. I think it was a Summer Showdown. Yeah, he
was unbelievable on that. But outside of like the Flexapods, Lijagon's Brig is unbelievable.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that for sure. If you include his Brigitte, then I think you could say that he's probably number 1. But if we're looking at like overall main support, like just the traditional heroes, I think Moth's a better player. So
I like Gustav.
All right. Well, Moth isn't Korean either, so I don't think there's any argument for someone else being on the South Korean team.
Yeah, I mean, there is like, have to bring attention to that little issue.
Yeah.
Small group of people who really dislike Lee Jae-gon.
Who do they want on there? Animo?
I don't know, honestly. I don't know who they want.
I think you could I'm going to also make another hot take. I think you could make an argument for Toby still. But also, I'm one of the largest Toby simps in the world. So that's the problem. I'm a huge Toby simp. Okay. But even though you could make the argument, I would still put Lee Jae-gong over him, okay? I'll say that. I'd still put Lee Jae-gong over him. I could just see how someone could say they want Toby on that roster.
Okay. Right. Maybe if it was like a mercy only meta or something.
Wow.
Dude, no, not a mercy only meta. No. Toby's Lucio is still really good and really balanced, but I still think Lee Jae-gong is better than him.
Josh made Toby as well, and now he's dragging him down.
made Toby.
You're such a backstabber, Josh.
He was the greatest main support in the world.
You were the only one singing his praises.
I don't think that was true either.
That YouTube video, like a 45-minute YouTube video, like here's Toby, the shades of Toby, or whatever you call it. I don't know.
Legend of Uncle Egg started there. the Korean fan base called him Uncle.
Yeah, but not Egg. The Egg was just when I shaved my head. Anyway, let's move on. I've got some molding that I want to do. I want to get rid of this hair. Get me back to Uncle Egg form.
Are we getting onto this topic here? The Valiant dropping all their players and staff. So they finally put out an announcement. So any of you who are out of the loop, you've been clearly under a rock. You should put, might be worth staying there for a while, to be honest, because it's a sad state of affairs currently occurring. So the Valiant, there was the rumor that came out where Halo reported on the fact that the Los Angeles Valiant was
can see it if you scroll down, Kurt. If you just go back a bit and you scroll down, look, there it is.
So Halo actually reported that the Los Angeles Valiant was being sold to an unknown Chinese organization. That ended up not being true. So the Los Angeles Valiant was not being sold. And instead, what was actually happening was the specific details of it was that the Los Angeles Valiant as an organization, the handling and management of it was going to be taken over by a Chinese organization. So some details there.
What Chinese organization that is, by the way?
No idea.
No one knows right now.
No idea.
Yeah, which is madness as well.
Now, the big controversy was at the time, they quote tweeted it saying, "We'd like to confirm this rumor is false, blah, 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 blah." So obviously, all the fans and some of us as well, until we did our own personal digging, thought, well, okay, so another rumor that was incorrect. This is why we don't report on rumors in Plat Chat. I naively tweeted a snide little tweet saying, this is why we don't report on leaks. But it turns out that Valiant love shooting themselves in the foot because there was a semblance of truth to this entire matter, and which has now been released in an official statement. And we kind of knew this as well, roughly from the previous episode, but they finally put out a statement, and this time just saying, we want to thank all of the players and staff moving on today from the LA Valiant using fucking Microsoft clip art to try and make this one as well. This little graphic, not naming any of the players or staff.
To be fair, that's a Valiant tradition, though, is clip art for announcements. Yeah. That's a Valiant tradition.
As we prepare to compete in China this season, we've worked to facilitate the best available next steps for our players and staff and wish them all the best moving forward. I don't know how true that is, given the fact that a lot of these players are kind of just, they seem to be in despair, but also there's no information that's come out for it. So we don't know how far that this has actually been taken.
Didn't really work out for Florida Mayhem. Just like, we're going to try to make sure Tvick can apply and McGravy finds a home, you know? So let's sell them to other teams.
Technically, they were two for three out of that, you know?
Yeah. The last paragraph.
Yeah, but they left my boy Tvick out, you know? Like, I can't.
The last paragraph tickles me because it says, we look forward to having LA Valiant join NYXL and Philadelphia Fusion and bringing more live Overwatch content to the passionate fan base in Asia during this logistically challenging year, as if they're comparing their situation to NYXL and Philly, as if they are even fucking comparable in the fucking slightest. Like, we're just doing what they did, guys. We just couldn't get the visas. Fuck off. Could you not get the visas? You wanted to essentially shift off the LA Valiant. You didn't plan far ahead enough. You've ruined essentially a lot of these players' careers for this portion of the year because you have made this decision to switch over to management. And obviously, the players are not going to be able to get Chinese or Korean visas in this short amount of time because of the situation when with COVID. You've made this decision and you haven't thought about the livelihoods of your staff or players. And as a result, they have been burnt in the process. They're not going to have but most likely a lot of these players and staff are not going to have places to go to or work for in this year now because the offseason is effectively over. Like these teams are not making decisions. They finalize their rosters and it's just an entirely unethical and disappointing situation that's occurred. It is horrific, honestly. So many of these players now as well, just without homes. Agilities has announced that he's not competing off the back of this from this year after he was set to join a Valiant again.
I think Adam also tweeted saying that he was like, well, I thought I'd escaped Australia, but back I go.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It's
and I think Sung Woo as well, like a coaching prospect as well. Or some of that.
Well,
like,
I mean, Dreamer's already said that he's looking for team as well. Like pretty much everyone aside from like pretty much everyone except for like two players have 100% said they're LFT, as in like they haven't found other options. I think it's only Shax and KSB, but I think even still they said, or Kai, I think he's Kai now.
It is.
So technically, I think even they've said to some degree that they're still LFT. Like everyone's looking for a team. All the staff are looking for a team too. Everyone forgets to mention them, but all the staff. Yeah. I mean, Packington's not even in Overwatch anymore. He's not even in Overwatch.
He's on the Valiant roster, right?
What a kick in the balls there as well. It's like, hey, sucks. We're dropping half of your responsibilities, but we're keeping you under contract for Valorant. So stick around and toe the party line. Like what an absolute kick in the bollocks. And we're just letting go of everybody that you've worked to develop. What a terrible situation all around.
The thing that I fucking hate most about what the Valiant's quote was that they had blamed the entire situation on the visa issues, on COVID.
Yeah.
As if it wasn't unforeseen. That it's essentially, they've tried to use it as a scapegoat. This entire situation. Like, you know for a fact that a deal this large has to be made months in advance. It's not something that gets made immediately, but you could tell from the reaction of the players that they got blindsided by this.
Absolutely,
like they had no knowledge that this was going on. Like you cannot say in this quote that we've done our best to facilitate the available next steps for our players and staff, when clearly they were unaware of this entire situation that was about to take place.
Yeah, They might have worked to facilitate the best available next steps for the players, but they didn't. They didn't prepare them. Clearly didn't do the necessary preparation here either. Yeah. And what I don't really get is, I mean, there's a bunch of different stuff that I don't get, but just looking at this announcement, it's so cold. You could at least have prepared something thanking each individual player. Or like
they didn't get shit. They didn't get
shit. A graphic or something.
No naming. Nothing.
Nothing at all. And do you know what this screams to me as well? It screams to me that they don't give a fuck about the bad PR whatsoever.
No, they don't.
Clearly they don't, because they literally came out setting expectations that they weren't going to be making this decision from a previous tweet. Those are the last two tweets they made. The last two tweets that they made. were essentially them saying, no, we're not selling the roster, and then following up with this, we're dropping everybody. Like, clearly do not care about the PR of this team whatsoever. They
there
are
it is, right
firmly
there.
setting it behind.
I think they do. I think they do care. I think I think what is happening is they know that it's so bad PR that they're just like cowering from the PR itself. So like they just want to put out one Twitter post, small, be done with it, and just log off Twitter for like 2 weeks, rather than going through the procedure of like, here's a graphic for each player, here's like maybe a video like with highlights or something, like thanks for the memories, maybe some highlights of like the Valiant events they've had themselves in LA. They have a big community and stuff here in LA. Like you could have highlighted that, like thank you to these like standout fans. Like you could have done all of that, but it feels like they're just like cowering away from it. They're just like, nope.
I think
like, we don't want to be on Twitter anymore because it's gonna be a shit fest and we know it.
I think the actual purpose of the tweets though is to essentially, I don't know enough about the law to make this an accurate statement, but it feels so corporate to me, and it feels like they almost had to address this rumor for legal reasons in terms of the actual rumor itself. Because would it not affect the sort of valuation of IGC?
It could affect the deal going through. Maybe not so much the valuation.
Company,
I think it could affect
sure.
the deal. It doesn't matter if I don't think it's about the valuation. I think it's more the fact that it allows them to cover their tracks in terms of like also, I don't know why Immortals, they are such a bad history of like, I've made this comment and I was joking with Mitch about this on Twitter with Uber, and like how Immortals always does the thing where they're like, no, this thing is not true, but we're not going to say explicitly not true. We're just going to like vaguely hint that it's not true. And then it always comes out later when like they could just be better not saying anything. Just don't say anything at all. When the rumor comes out, don't come put out a tweet saying, guys, we're still owning the roster, right? Because they're not saying they're not going to release the roster. They're just saying we still own the spot, which is like the point of is to dissuade the rumors, obviously. Sure. To say like, no, we're still invested. But if you're just going to release them anyways and receive twice as much backlash, why even say anything at all?
Which is why I'm trying to think of the justification for it. Is there some legal reason behind them actually having to make a tweet like that?
It must be for the transfer, the sale.
I think they're just dumb.
Squad.
Like
they might just be dumb.
Yeah, I think that's it. And personally, I do agree with Brennon that it smells like they just don't give a fuck.
They don't care.
I don't think why would they? Why should they care? They're not in the space anymore. They're not even in the space.
And that's the thing. They don't manage the spot anymore. There's already the report about them looking to sell the franchise that was in November of last year.
They don't even want to be in esports at all anymore.
Exactly. They've put out statements about wanting to work on their non-esport team portfolios. Non-team portfolios and have a good balance sheet for the future. Like it just seems like they're trying to clock out and they just don't give a fuck about the mess that they make on the way out, which is such a shitty situation for all of the people that are going to get hurt on the way, of which it's the players and staff that are taking the brunt of it here. And to me, go on, Johnny.
It seems like they're trying to be 100 Thieves, but not be popular and not.
We're gonna be 100 Thieves, but we're not gonna be in esports. So what are we gonna? We're be 100 Thieves, but we rob our careers. We're actually thieves because we rob our players and staff careers from them. Like that's what we're doing. Like also, secondly, on top of all this, the thing that makes me even more upset with them at all is that it's making me nostalgic for when Noah Winston was running this team. It's making me nostalgic. It's like the height of Valiant was when they made some avant-garde Apocalypse Now documentary in front of In and Out telling Agilities he was going to be cut, and that was the good old days. That was the good old days now. And I'm like, what have they made me do? What is this, huh? I have to look forward to when we're just mentally castrating players in front of a burger chain, and that's like the best. That's the high of this franchise now. I can't believe it. I can't.
You have one more shot, Agilities. One more chance.
There seems to be a thread of, I think that, get your tinfoil hats on for this one, by the way, but I think that you can draw a very compelling narrative back from the purchase of the Optic brand and that kind of bad decision making and all the way to this.
IGC seems like one of the worst businesses possible in esports.
They had to sell the CDL spot back to Hex who rebought it. Hex essentially did like the GameStop flipperoo here with Optic.
But some people might not
what
know.
he did with that entire brand.
Some people might not know the context
Exactly,
of
let's set it up.
the history of IGC.
Yeah, so they bought the Optic gaming spot in CDL.
One of the most loved franchises or like brands in COD is Optic Gaming. Okay, like arguably, I think the most popular brand in COD at the time. Maybe
I think FaZe are actually bigger.
maybe FaZe is bigger.
But I think, I
But
think
up there.
It's still the most
three, top
storied.
two.
It's still definitely the most storied of like franchises.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, there's like a book on like their roster at times and stuff. Like the bestseller book. It's like insane.
Yeah, and I think that it just attracted a huge amount of ire from the fans because Hex was no longer involved, right? Or he was like in a.
Well, he wasn't involved, and the roster was dog as well.
I think he wasn't involved, but then they just kept making shitty decisions. I don't know the actual history of it. I can't comment too hard.
I can't remember.
So,
anyway, what I know,
I will say though, it seemed like Optic at the time when he sold that were a bunch of financial troubles because they had expanded and had like an Indian Call of Duty team or something, and they were just like trying to spend money, and they were like in huge financial issues, so they were trying to sell off the thing. Valiant ended up buying it, and then the story was that Hex went to start like the Chicago Huntsman.
So he went and partnered with NRG, which became the Chicago Huntsman.
Yeah.
And then they sort of split their brands a bit now that he's bought Optic back from IGC.
Yeah.
Because remember, Optic initially sold to Infinite. It was Infinite Esports that owned Optic brand. And then when Infinite went under, because all they knew how to do was like the Wolf of Wall Street, just like throw money into flaming dumpsters, and also, by the way, just going to put out a couple of people that were from Infinite Esports went over to the IGC to run the CDL spot. Just going to put that out there. But then on top of that, they then took this roster. The CDL spot was a disaster. They already took the super inflated CDL salaries and took them to levels that I didn't think possible. Ran that spot on the ground. They sold it back to Hex at a discount. And then now they're just exiting esports entirely because they have the reverse Midas.
The other part to this story as well, though, is that presumably as part of the deal to take over Optic and kind of bail out Infinite in that sense, they also ended up being responsible for the salaries of the players for the Houston Outlaws as well, and kind of floating them for that period of time. What a horrible business decision that was. All in order to get Optic as this big brand that was loved in CDL. And they torched their goodwill with the community and torched their banks, just setting money and PR on fire the entire way through this past, what's it been, 2 years since that deal was happening? And it seems like they've just burnt all of their goodwill and all of their money to get to the point where now they're just like, fuck it. Esports is done. Like, esports is just bad business. No, you're just fucking up the business side of it. You're making the wrong decisions the entire way through by the look of it. And in the end of the day, it's the Valiant players that get screwed.
Yeah. And some of the biggest acquisitions for the Houston, money-wise, were under IGC. Like, IGC bankrolled Flame, doing Flame things, getting all these big acquisitions.
And Flame things is crazy in and itself.
It's just like the whole story itself is just like it's so mind blowing. It's so unbelievably mind blowing. Like, and they're just such shitbags. Honestly, they're just such shitbags. Like I sometimes you have to play politics, right? In this game, you can't go too hard because you want to work with some people. No, I don't ever want to work with IGC. I don't ever want to work with IGC. I don't ever work with them. And like, I have it on good authority that when the rumors first started flying, that's when they started floating player sales in trades. Is when the rumors about their slot going out. So that means these players, they essentially started like, what is it now? A week and a half, 2 weeks ago when the offseason was done. Yeah. On top of that, we've changed the contract rules. So all the players that have been fucked, they at best, if they haven't renegotiated, are getting 30 days of salary.
Well,
so they essentially lost a whole
Let's talk
year.
about that aspect though as well, because that only applies if you're dropped without cause. And if you are dropped for reasons that you can't get a visa, that is being dropped with reasonable cause. So the that aspect of it as well gets fucky there. So it would have been like, it's possible. I'm not saying that it happened because I think that a lot of these players have like good agents and representation that would make sure that this does
they
not
don't,
occur.
by the way. Most of them are unrepresented. Also.
I think
most of them are unrepresented.
Two
of them are underrepresented. I think two of them are represented.
Really?
Oh
I thought
my
it was
God.
way more than that. Anyway.
And the Korean players are specifically, as I know, the Korean players are not. So
By the way,
Lastro, Dreamer,
that is also another enormous issue within the league, is that while the Western players, generally speaking, have agents that are responsible for them and help them with negotiation of contracts and can add things to their contract, like things to help them when these kind of situations arise, and can pursue kind of legal battles or whatever in order to get them some compensation afterwards. Korean players, generally speaking, don't seem to be represented as much. Like, there seems to be just a massive loss there. Maybe it's because they're in the United States a lot of the time and there's a language barrier and they just don't get it sorted.
Well, I think it's also a culture gap, because a lot of times it's like the Myungbong situation, right? Where the whole deal was brokered between him and Boston by his organization, O2, and his coaches and such.
insane.
I think it's sometimes a little bit of a culture gap at times, at least it feels, where a lot of the Korean players feel like their orgs are looking out for them and representing their interests in this matter versus a standalone agent at times.
Maybe.
But to go to the visa issue again, right, is that I put out a tweet where I said, I hope that this visa issue doesn't allow them to dodge financial responsibilities to the players. Because I think that if you truly try and use the rule book, which, by the way, I don't have particularly many problems with the rule book. It might need to be tightened now that someone has directly, in my opinion, like wiggled their way through some loopholes. But the rule book seemed to make sense. If it's kind of standard for esports contracts that if you can't get a visa, the organization or your employer doesn't have to continue to have you under contract. Because if the player fucks up the visa, or if the player's got, like, I don't know, prior arrests or something, if you want to go like to the most extreme mode, the organization shouldn't have to foot the bill for an entire 12 months or something because the player wasn't allowed to get a visa. That's like within the normal span of things. But you need to actually go through the process of applying for the visa and getting it declined. That's the important thing that really needs to happen in that situation. And the fact that the IGC clearly waited too long, like they waited until the final moment to make this decision when they must have fully known that there was no chance that their players were getting visas at this point. In fact, I don't even know whether that's true. I don't know whether that
it's also fully assuming there was about a visa issue at all, right? It could be that this new Chinese organization might not have wanted a Western roster. They might have wanted a full Chinese roster, right?
Sure.
Obviously, we
And
don't know
used it
that.
as an excuse.
But the visa's a great smokescreen. Visas have been used many times for a smokescreen for various things. So we have no guarantee it even was a visa issue at all. It could be just the new org not wanting the current roster.
Yeah. Now, the other part to this, though, as well, is that presumably the Overwatch League has had to kind of approve that aspect of it, right? So there probably was at least some requirement for the organization to do a little bit of digging. The thing is, though, that is so easy for them to do if they wait until if you wait until the day before and then you're like, oh, actually, we can't get visas. That's unfortunate, isn't it? Gonna have to drop you all. Like, in theory, they've followed the letter of the rules. They tried as hard as they could to get visas and it wasn't available. But the organization deliberately put themselves in that point by waiting too long because they knew then it would afford them an easy opportunity to drop everybody. Like that's the real crux of the issue, I think, is all about the timing when it comes down to this. If they had decided earlier on in the season to do this, and there had been genuine visa issues, or they had ported all of their players over to China, or some people might be a bit bothered that they're not playing in North America, but it would be some very small amount of fans. It wouldn't be a giant community uproar like it is right now. The fact that they waited until the last possible moment to dick over all of their players and ruin their careers, and their staff as well, is just unconscionable. It's horrific.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people as well. People were coming into my stream blaming the Overwatch League for this, in terms of the ruling change.
Yeah,
with the contracts.
Don't think that's reasonable.
I don't think that's reasonable either. And at the time, I was fucking heated. I was like what are you talking about? But the justification as to why I don't think it's a reasonable thing to blame is because the contractual changes that previously, where there was some level of security guaranteed, were the Overwatch League changed the rulings this season because of COVID, because of what you said, right? Where there may be a scenario where, because a country shut down, they won't be able to get visas for a specific country, and as a result, the org will not be able to. I mean, the org will not have to then pay an entire salary for a player. Like, these changes were made for essentially the health and longevity of the season for this year, in particular, in a COVID world, in a COVID environment. They were kind of making these rules kind of under, I suppose, it's a pessimistic viewpoint, but some people were like, well, they really should have specified that they can't just abuse the rules and bend the rules like they have been. Like, with actual legal ruling, like the wording needs to be concrete in a lot of these contracts. But I think it's a reasonable expectation for the league to just make this ruling and not expect the teams to make a decision like this that just completely
that's what I think as well.
Skirts the actual true meaning of the contractual changes, and instead just is only purely in benefit of them just trying to exit out of the scene and fuck over these players. I think it's reasonable to not. I mean, I don't even know what they could write down so that it was concrete, where they wouldn't be able to get away with something like this.
I also think that we came off a season which was very player centric when it came to the contracts, because we came off that whole decay situation with Dallas Fuel as well, where like he didn't want to practice allegedly, didn't want to scrim with the team, but Dallas Fuel were like, well, he's on the contract, so he's on quote unquote on the bench, and we just have to continually pay him, until there's an opportunity. And we don't really want to sell him, because if we sell Decay, well, he's gonna go out and just destroy us on another team, right? Which happened on the Washington Justice. So I think we came off, a season which was very much in favor of players, and then I think we had to balance that up. So like, what amendments can we do to make sure that it's more even? Like, player has some power, but organizations ultimately can't be screwed over by players who are unhappy. So I think that, it's very unfortunate that we came off that season, made some quick changes to try to make it more fair, and then an organization just steps in and just abuses that fact, and now put these players and coaches in a situation where they'll just get like, I don't even know if they'll get 1 month of pay. But I think it's very unfortunate. And I think, I mean, I think as well, Bren, like you said, that like this is such a like, you cannot really predict this. Like, if you have to specify every wording for every possible outcome, there's still going to be loopholes, and lawyers are going to find a way around in contracts, etc. Like, it's very unfortunate. But I think it's more of a consequence of what happened last season as well, and like some quick amendments, and it's just very unfortunate in those ways too.
Yeah, I also, people have been framing this on Twitter as being a way of Valiant dodging money, or like making, what's the way that people are talking about it? They're talking about it as if Valiant are doing this to save money. This doesn't save money, because presumably the Valiant players were already on pretty low contracts. I don't think there's anyone who believes that the Valiant players were on really high contracts from last season. Anybody they sign in China still has to adhere to the minimum contract requirements of the Overwatch League anyway. Plus, they have to also move their, have the management company run things, etc. It doesn't, unless the Valiant have just given all of the financial responsibility and probably revenue over to this management company and completely just taken their hands off the wheel, this doesn't really, it's not beneficial for the Valiant either.
I mean,
it has to be saving budget, like in terms of staffing as well.
I mean, they're definitely. I think that's the more, and from my understanding, the more likely scenario is, because this is not the first time this has happened. C9 did this with the London Spitfire roster. Spitfire roster is not run by Cloud9. It is run by a company called Excel, and they own the brand, but they do not run that team.
Yeah,
they don't. It is run by a second management, a different organization. And so it's not like this is an unprecedented event. And I would not be surprised with where specifically IGC is, but also just in general where we are right now with the league. Teams are like, listen, we own this, but you get to keep all the revenue and make all the decisions and do this stuff. I would not be surprised if that is the current situation with them, because if you're IGC and you feel like, obviously there's a pessimistic view from them, but like, if you feel like this is not going to necessarily anytime soon yield you any returns, why would you want to be invested into this too financially, like tied to it, versus just having someone else? They get all the benefits, but if they feel the benefits are pretty low, then they also have to take all the risk, right? Yeah. So I feel like that's a much more likely scenario, honestly, for this case, because it makes current sense for, in my opinion, of where the league is at, to have your management company get all the rewards, but also have to take on all the risk. Because right now it is overwhelmingly risk versus reward.
Yeah,
so
I just
think
don't
that's
understand why a
pretty fair
management
assessment.
company would agree to that as well within the current
Well, I
environment.
mean, it's also definitely more of like, I feel like Chinese esports are a whole different breed of esports everywhere else. Chinese esports is just like, we're dealing with a place that's building $1 billion gaming compounds for teams to come play at, right? They're building whole cities from the ground to just play esports. So like, it's a very, very different like situation, I feel. And also overall, I think Overwatch is very much still has a lot of popularity in like China and Korea and parts like that. I feel like Asia is like a huge market factor comparatively to specifically Europe, but also North America right now. And like, it's much more likely that you might get more rate of return on it over there than you would in the West currently. I
would be so pissed if I was that management company, seeing how the Valiant dealt with their like exit, being like, you've set us up to fail.
Can I put on a tinfoil hat for you? Tinfoil hat for everybody? Anyone?
All right, love it.
Can I share it around a little bit?
We actually need some physical tinfoil hats because this happens way
What if the mismanagement of the entire situation, the reason they didn't care is because they're pushing for a rebrand?
Well, that's why. Well, I mean,
it seems like they want to sell the team, right?
If it's a Chinese roster, right, and if they do end up getting a full Chinese team as well, I'm sure there's going to be backlash from fans. We saw some Chinese fans, people posting like, "Oh wow, I can't believe they did this," right? But the majority of casual Chinese fans are just gonna be like, "Fuck yeah, new Chinese roster, let's go!"
I agree.
So I don't think the PR matters at all.
What if they're not worried about the backlash in the slightest because their intention is to essentially push for a rebrand? Even if
Beijing Bears,
like even if, for example, the Overwatch League didn't want it, like one of the best ways to probably get what you want is to ensure that nobody likes the Los Angeles Valiant brand. Like it's not profitable to have in the Overwatch League, like as an entity. Like that's one way to do it. I mean, that might be one of the reasons why they just made the Exit as ugly as possible, it seems like.
So they just pulled a Dunkirk where they've seized all the engines. So then that's what they've done with the trucks. So they can't be seized by any new brand. They're like, now we have to get a new brand. Now we just have to, guys. I mean, you can't take ours.
It feels like that to me. That's why this is the tinfoil hat is
it's very tinfoil hat.
It's very tinfoil hat.
It's extremely conspiracy theory.
Yeah, but I've seen stranger things happen.
Yeah,
I mean, like one thing that we haven't even mentioned as well is that they dropped all their players just before the season and everyone's done, but they're also going to pick up a new team after everyone's been done picking from contenders and building teams and picking up the best contenders players, and they're like, okay, well, who's left? What do we have to build with? So they're going to be shite.
Who's left though? It's not just about who's left. It's about the fact that if they sign Korean players, those Korean players will have to get Chinese visas. Oh, the same as Dreamer would have had to. That's weird. So what? It wasn't a visa issue after all then. They can get Chinese visas quickly enough.
Yeah.
So
they're just picking up a Korean roster, or
their
they're
own
argument
has limited them to only Chinese players.
Yeah.
But
also, I think
at this point they don't care. I was just going to say they don't care about what. Like, they have offloaded the responsibilities to this Chinese management company. They do not care of what problems they have set up for them. And presumably this Chinese company is probably like, we'll just pick up a Chinese team, Chinese players.
Yeah.
But like, that's so shite as well, because then you're like, we're looking to sell or rebrand this team, but we don't care how good the team actually is, because I don't understand that the team's value increases. Right? Well, the team's value would increase if you had a good roster, like good preparation, and like. But they're
probably building for next year more so. If it happens this late, it's not uncommon for sports franchises to be like, screw it next year. Like, we're just like this. Maybe this whole thing, if it's a long-term thing and long-term investment is a much more Chinese esports thing than I feel elsewhere.
I think that's
what London did. Honestly, last year was just a wash for London, and then this year they actually had their rebrand into being more of like the three-head team, where it's their taking.
Well, I think London was still trying to salvage what they were. I think London was hoping to make it work. I think they were hoping to make it work, and then they realized that they just can't, and so it's far easier to do the whole like, let's just be European.
Yeah,
thing.
They also had some promising prospects,
Yeah,
like good prodigies, good players.
I mean, the fact that they got Glister last year, I was like, what happened?
I couldn't believe that.
I just don't understand. But
Yeah.
but also on top of that, if a player, something we've talked about with the players that they're going to pick up for this new roster, right? And like, who's it going to be? Is this roster going to be good? What about the players? Like, there are some promising talents from Valiant that can go in. And just about all of them, realistically, when you really like, when you look at Kai, when you look at Shax, when you look at Lastro, I mean, those would be like my top three. Like, they probably find, but like, you know, you could definitely make arguments for the other players on that roster as well. And if they go anywhere, it's very likely they might push a player out late in the offseason.
Yeah.
So they've essentially double screwed. They've given a double dick, a temporal dicking pincer.
Well,
that's what it is.
That's the current rumor about Sharp on the Atlanta Reign as well, right? Is that Kai is coming and essentially taking his spot, and that would be just randomly Sharp at the beginning of this year gets just blindsided by an organization that wasn't even his own, having a horrific decision that just makes a better player available and shunts him out the roster.
And also, that would be such a wasted talent if Sharp ends up if that does happen. That's such a huge waste of talent compared to where Sharp was at in contenders during his time. Sharp was like the best tracer player in North American contenders for a long time, and they'll even hit scan. Like, he was so good. And then if this happens, like, obviously I have no idea then it's actually such an avalanche of shafts coming at from all angles here. It's crazy.
I do think
I would be shocked if no one picked up Sharp though. Like, if Sharp gets replaced by Kai, I do think he gets picked up by like some Boston or some shit. Like, he's that good.
Late.
But they have
like,
soon.
he's that good.
Yeah, Boston.
That's true.
Boston
He's so good though.
The team that I keep thinking that's going to benefit from these situations is the Vancouver Titans. I can't think of another team that doesn't want to pay very much, and so the fact that these players don't actually have another option benefits them because the players have far less leverage than they would usually, and their roster is kind of wank. It's looking.
But they already have
Linkser.
Dalton. They already have Dalton as
Dalton.
well, like, which is the same hero pools, right? Like, essentially, at the end of the day, if they're going to pick up Sharp, it's just a cascading dick, right? Because someone else is going to get displaced. Eventually, at the end of the day.
But when you look at this roster, they would really benefit from a third DPS player, in my opinion. It's not so much that someone would naturally sit on the bench. I think the addition of Sharp would allow.
Sharp.
I think they'd allow them to specialize a little bit more.
If they pick up Sharp, I don't see a universe where
Linkser, Dalton, and Sharp. Sharp's not gonna carve out his own niche with those three players.
Why not? Why wouldn't he?
They cover like their own bases already.
Well,
but Sharp plays the same stuff that Dalton plays, though. He can play hit scan, he can play tracer.
But presumably Dalton is going to be playing the like more flex DPS picks as well for this roster. Because
Well, honestly,
no one else
better
would.
if they ignore
He's
that.
not a
Just
flex
ignore
player.
that. Ignore that. I don't care. It's better if that was their plan. It's better they don't have Dalton. Honestly, they should just go commit to hit scan, because the flex DPS experiment with Dalton was not a good one. It's a shame because it's wasting his talent.
But there's no one else to do it on the roster.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Screw it. Just go full in. Go full into the hit scan tracer. This is it. Like, just screw it. You've already given up. You've already given up, Dan Titan. So just commit to this. Commit to it if you're gonna do that.
When I look at that roster, there are many, many holes in it. And the addition, the fact that you've opened it up. By the way, as well, the last time we saw Sharp, he was playing Echo. So it's possible that Sharp himself is trying to add some projectile kind of roles to his kit and play a bit more of like the flex stuff. I think that's a possibility. I don't think there's anything too crazy about that.
Yeah.
Okay, what about Sharp to London Spitfire? Because they have hybrid, but then they have Blase and Sparker, and I think Sharp can carve out a niche there.
I think Sparker would immediately come in and replace him whenever Sparker becomes 18, but I do think that would be a pretty decent addition for the short term. Like, if you sign him on a 30-day contract until Sparker becomes available, I think that would be a good addition. Does it really help Sharp that much? No, because it's a short-term contract, but the season itself is shorter than usual, so it's not as terrible.
But once again,
dickening.
we're just it's the dickening. It's literally the dickening 2021. Either way, no matter what the solution here is, someone is catching the shaft. It at some point.
You know what it reminds me of as well? It reminds me of like CDL going down to one less player per team. And it's just cascading dicking on all sides, just domino dicking.
Is that something that happened?
Yeah, I think it was. Right?
Yes, it is. They changed the format that is going to be played because of the games. Like the new iteration, because CDL is like a new game every year, right?
Yeah.
And so the new iteration is like there's less players. And so you don't need as many players on your roster.
It's 4v4 instead of 5v5, I think.
So Empire specifically, like, it was a huge deal because they had just won the league. They were such a good team, and they had to release Clayster to go to the subliners, the New York squad. But like this guy had just won the league with them, right? So you just had to release a dude that just won and was dominant throughout the year because you simply can't have them on your roster.
The day after. They announced it the day after they won. Sorry, mate, you're cut.
Crazy.
You can't have subs in CDL?
You can have subs, but Clayster wasn't going to be a sub, right? Because it was a hard decision, right?
$7 million.
Like, it was like, think about the decision you have to make there, Bren. Even if you have a sub, one of the players from your starting roster is now going to have to be the sub. No one that just won the league wants to be a sub. If I just won the league in CDL, I'd be like, fuck you. Like, absolutely not. I'm going to be sub. Like, there's no way, especially since the COD guys are all like, they're all amped up on Axe body spray and testosterone anyways, right? So like they're not going to do that. So like they send them to the subliners because obviously if you're going to buy a champion player from a team, you're going to buy him. So it's just, even if you have subs, it's just a no-win situation.
Where do we think it would be a good idea for Shax to end up then? And Lastro?
I need to see the full rosters. I can't picture it mentally.
I feel like Lastro to Houston would be a nice, like, okay, Crimzo gets a bit of the dick there, but Lastro's definitely better than Crimzo.
Yeah, I mean, Lastro could go to like, there are people that have tried to put forward this idea, and I actually wouldn't even fight them, that Lastro was potentially on the right team at top 5 flex support last year if he was on the right team.
Yeah,
and
no,
like,
I think that's
not even unfair. That's not even unfair, right? Lastro's insane. I think if you need a tracer specialist, Shax could easily take like so many tracer spots. Realistically,
he's crazy
because he's so good. Kai, I mean, KSB, Kai, their hit scan is like really, really good. Like, there's a lot of teams they could go to, but at the end of the day, I hate discussing the prospect because of the fact that we're changing these rosters so late in the season. If it does happen to where someone else is getting just owned, for when they've already committed.
There's less places these days as well for Western players. It's something we didn't really acknowledge, but Toronto are now kind of shifting in an entirely Korean direction. Dallas are as well.
Yeah.
Washington. Like, there are way less places for Western players to go to.
And there's just less spots in general because all the teams want to run a little bit leaner roster anyways. So everyone wants to run a leaner roster these days because it's an easier way to run a roster. It's cheaper.
I'm looking at the franchises. I'm going down the list and I'm thinking, like, there are no real solid places because... A lot of these teams are going for like entirely Korean rosters, or
that's why I think a Chinese management team would be perfectly fine just eating the year, right? Because I feel like it's with how the current direction is, it's trending that this league is primarily going to be Asia based, which I don't have a problem with because I think there's so much talent there, there's so much opportunity for growth. But the reality is, the more Asia based it becomes, we're going to push out a lot more Western players because there's less spots for them. It's harder to integrate them into these mixed. It's a lot easier to integrate a couple of the Asia based players that are more likely to have like more more alternate languages compared to North American ones in particular, because here in Kona land, we only speak English and we don't have any we don't have any access to secondary languages. Not access, but rather, the support structure in our education systems, I would say. And so like, it just makes sense if you feel the league is going to be more Asia based as the years go on, as the league continues. So it is like, I don't necessarily think it's not necessarily a problem in the grand scheme of things, but it is a problem if you're a Western player.
Sure. And also, I think considering the majority of this year, if not all of this year, is going to be COVID and remote, there was actually, the Valiant specifically said, Ari Siegel said in his statement about this, that one of the reasons that they wanted to make this move is because there was more chance of live events happening over in Asia. Now, I don't know what that would even entail. I don't know why that would be so attractive for them. I think that's a bit of smoke and mirrors, to be honest. But with the fact that if you're based in the US, you are probably going to be playing remotely for pretty much the entire year. Like, what is the best guess when it comes to vaccinations?
I mean,
it's like July, August?
I think they're saying spring is when they're hoping that it's starting to get better, and summer is when they're hoping to be all right.
June, July was when they're planning in the US, but at the moment it seems like they're having issues with the distribution.
Right.
And that's the main.
And also, me and my people, we just want to cough into each other's mouths open and just smear mucus on each other because Americans do. So my people and I think it's we're running slow. We're running slow.
And also I think a lot of people were hoping and expecting that Overwatch 2 would come out before the beginning of this season. I don't know why that expectation was in the community, because it was something that I was never expecting to happen.
It's also Yeah, I mean, a terrible time to release a game.
It really, it seems like it
Like
would
the
be.
beginning of the year is normally for games that get delayed and pushed past the Christmas period.
Yeah.
Like when you're
I
looking
think
at
the
a release cycle of a game.
expectation wasn't it more of the fact that like there's just no content, right?
Right, but
No content, and also like it was so long ago since the announcement that you were like, okay, well, it was a year and a half since the announcement, or however long it was, and was like naturally, probably around now, the game would be ready. But it feels like it's delayed because it's been so long. I think people just did like a gut feeling kind of thing, like, oh, it probably means it comes out in, start of 2021. It's like, well, actually, that's not how game development works. I do think that it's probably been delayed, but for good reasons, whether it's gameplay related or even marketing. Yeah, but they actually said that their production from home is actually quite good. But still, it's like, I think I agree with Bren. There would just be dumb to release it right now, quite honestly.
They don't,
and so I think they know that.
Yeah. Like, it is much better to presumably give them more time to develop a game and release it in a much better quarter of the year compared to...
Well, my point with that anyway, though, is if you're basically committing to a remote season and you're basically committing to waiting for Overwatch 2 to come out, then it makes sense to take this year as like a not a gap year, but like just filler year where you're just kind of coasting and you're waiting to ramp up when Overwatch 2 actually hits, which means that the timing for this in terms of it being this year is a good thing for the Valiant. The timing in terms of it being now in the off season is wank. They should have done it months ago if they were intending to do this. Or at least they should have given some idea to the players and staff that it was going to happen more than a couple of days before or even the day before it actually happened.
We killed the Valiant segment.
Yep.
Good job.
Eat the bourgeoisie.
Well, I wanted to kind of drop a final thing in here, which is if they were going to construct a roster of players that haven't been picked up yet
from China.
From China,
I'm assuming China. I'm assuming China.
Yeah, me too.
I'm assuming China. So
the thing is, though, if you're willing to be massive hypocrites and pick up a mixed Korean-China roster, despite the fact that you said you had visa issues, the quality of the team that you can make is actually very decent.
That's true. What if they got Lastro and they got Dreamer and then
Rain
they built
What if we bend the rules and say they can pick up some Western players as well, and they get Shaqs?
Good idea. Yeah. But also,
that's not bad.
A bunch of the Runaway players recently announced that they were leaving Runaway, didn't they? I think Wu Hyal, wasn't it Merit and Assassin or something like that? Maybe
Assassin, I know. I think Assassin and Revenge, right? Revenge.
Was it Revenge? Yeah. I can't remember the exact players that it was, but I think they recently said that they were leaving Runaway, and people were like, oh, where are they going? Where are they going? And now with this explosion, it feels like too much of a coincidence that they wouldn't be heading to this team, doesn't it? That's what
maybe.
That's what is immediately in my head anyway.
I mean, I would just hope that isn't the case because it just is just an extra, just pouring more salt into the wound there of like, if they just end up picking up non-Chinese players on top of that, where they still have to deal with visas, like that's just would be ridiculous. But if that is the case, that would make sense. Honestly, that could make a lot of sense.
You're asking too much of me.
Yeah. Well, I just thought it was
to build a mental team using only my mind. I mean, no resources.
Dia and Super Rich are the two massive Chinese talents that are still available. So that takes your DPS and your main support. You've got Revenge would be at least an acceptable slot as the flex support.
Support, Assassin and
Assassin are both available for DPS as well. Wu Hyal is available.
Got me on off tank soon.
Janu or Meko, I suppose, as well. What?
Oh yeah, Janu and Meko are both technically still on the market.
Me on off tank soon.
You on off tank? Yeah. Once you get up.
But what's your main tank though? Is the issue? What's your main tank?
So I was speaking to Space last night.
Dreamer.
Oh, you're not talking to me, no.
No, go on then. What is your main tank?
I thought you were asking what my main tank pool.
What's your main tank?
Go ahead.
It doesn't matter.
Go ahead. Say it.
What's your main tank? You might get signed by the Beijing Bears.
No. I've come under the conclusion I got to work on my ball. I was talking to Space and I was kind of like giving it all the talk in his chat, being like, Super said I can't get GM. I'm going to get GM. And he was like, yeah, Bren, let's, when you get to GM, let's run it up. Let's get the duo going. I'm like, okay. A little bit of added motivation. He's like, what do you play? And I'm like, oh, fuck. I was planning on getting to GM in off tank, which is his role. He was like, I just learned ball. Ball's easy.
Right.
So I might just become a ball one trick.
We call that
ball
the
is
throwmobile
exceptionally
whenever
good.
you pick ball.
Yeah, I might just become a ball one trick.
It's also very silly. That way you could lean into your silly roots. You know, it's a very silly hero.
True.
When I think of Bren playing competitively, I think of him playing Valorant and just like flash, bang. Like you just see the same, same thing with wrecking balls, like booping now, or like something shit like
File,
that.
Driver.
That'd be fun. That'd be good. Good stream.
I cannot name you players.
That's all right. No,
I think it's tough for just the main tank in general outside of like Dreamer, honestly, because I just don't know what good main tanks are available for the squad, even from like.
Yeah,
like
I think it's a pretty enormous drop off from the.
What if they go way back to the Valiant?
This is you.
What do you mean?
Do you remember this?
Yeah, I remember that.
I lost my fucking mind when you did this. I lost my fucking mind. Look at you. Look at this. 92%. Why are you going this way into the cars? You fucking thrower.
I thought I could dodge the traffic. There was a Lucio waiting for me on the right-hand side, and the rest of the team was waiting for me
Look
on
at
the
my
left.
poor little face. You broke my fucking heart. Look at this.
12-9.
I mean, you know, as ball, you don't have to worry about people waiting for you outside of like a Sombra, right? Because you're very mobile and you can be in the
Lucio
air.
was waiting for.
No, he wasn't.
Yeah,
Roll the clip again. You can see the Lucio playing in main.
No, the Lucio.
You can see the Lucio.
He was coming over.
I've seen this clip many times.
The
to
Brig
figure out
was
what
waiting
the
on the
fuck
right.
you were doing.
They were running Lucio.
No, they
Brig.
weren't.
They were running Lucio. Brig.
Look at it. Look, there's the Lucio. Oh, he is waiting for you, kind of. But he's not going to be
Well,
getting
you could have just gone through main. You just could have gone through main.
You could have literally just gone through main.
Yeah, you literally could have just gone through main. You're faster.
I was worried about that Lucio. I was worried about him.
If there's ever an asteroid hurtling towards Earth and you have to have like great spatial awareness, I do not want Josh in charge of the planetary defense lasers. I want someone else because you don't understand the concept of trajectories and like when they're going to intercept at that point.
Are we ready to move on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Let's talk about the new article that the Overwatch League has posted, I believe. They're talking about their partnership with IBM.
Yeah, I don't think it was the Overwatch League posted though, was it? I think it was
Just a general article.
where was it?
Stern.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Stern. What website does he work for? I can't remember.
He works for esports.website. I don't know.
Website.
I'm not sure.
Incredible.
Yeah, so we got basically they're planning on doing in terms of like the
Esports
systems.
Observer.
They're doing an Owl
That's the one.
Fantasy Pick'em for this upcoming year using the IBM systems. What does that entail? I don't know. I think they're using AI, lots of clever systems intertwining.
Well, I think it's like the Amazon Web Services, the AWS kind of thing, right? But IBM has their own kind of thing. So it's like an underlying framework where you can build stuff on top of, I think. So, yeah, I think they'll just use the infrastructure.
But isn't there
of IBM
stuff
and
like
then build
stuff like analytics, not so much web hosting services, which is like AWS is more like a web hosting service.
I don't know. I would say it's like when you make a game and you say that you're using like Unreal Engine to make your game.
Yeah.
I guess that would be the best comparison. I don't know. Like I don't have a degree in anything. Okay, I'm useless. I don't know. But,
You're not useless,
that.
Johnny. You're not.
a couple things confirmed.
I know
with this.
Overwatch. That's about it.
The
Sometimes.
account linking is here. So CDL has already been rolling out with this one, I think. And they've been testing that one. So it looks like account linking is here. So you can actually get drops now without going on the overwatchleague.com website and watching an embed link.
Yeah, which is huge.
You
That's
can
massive.
you can now just watch it straight off the Overwatch League or off youtube.com/Overwatch League. Yeah, what else?
I mean, I hope so, at least. Because technically YouTube had drops before this for other things. It's just we wouldn't have them ready for, I guess, for either CDL or Overwatch League. So I'm hoping if they're rolling out for CDL, it's there for Overwatch League. But I just have
They said it will.
I just have that paranoia that there's just gonna be something. There's gonna be something there that's just gonna really just slap me in the face with the absurdity of it. Of like, maybe you can't do it.
Well, they've announced that the quality is going to be improving massively, which is a huge benefit. They've announced that drops are coming back and are going to be there for the Overwatch League. They've also announced, YouTube themselves have announced that they're adding clip function to their live streams.
Good.
So
thank God.
They've kind of solved all of the issues that were previously better on Twitch. And now you're left with a product that is simply better because you can rewind it. Like that's the way that I'm thinking about this, is that those were the three major factors. Well, actually, discoverability is also
emotes.
the
You're
big
also
one.
forgetting emotes.
Oh, yes.
Emotes were
Like the
huge,
famous
like,
Komodo
definitely.
hype that looks awful.
Like the Komodo hype. Like
Oh
the
my
Komodo
God.
hype. Yeah.
Do people like
awful.
Komodo hype?
I
Really?
think the lizard emotes, generally speaking, are awful.
I quite like Komodo hype because
what about
Komodo
Rat
hype will
Jam?
never say anything.
Rat Jam is great.
Basically,
Rat
Rat Jam
Jam.
is up tier.
I mean,
Rat Jam is better than
great.
Cat Jam. That's
But
my whole take.
The thing
Komodo
is,
hype is not going to be coming out on Twitter spewing some nonsense. Komodo hype is just a lizard.
yes, and that's my problem. It's just a fucking lizard.
But he's hyped. Look at him.
No, he's
Well,
not
actually,
hyped.
technically, he is
He's-
a Komodo dragon, which is very deadly.
A Komodo,
So-
this Komodo dragon is not going, wow! This Komodo dragon is going, whatever
know
the
about that.
fuck it's trying to eat.
No, it's going.
Maybe it's yawning. What if
not,
it's yawning?
Not loud. It's going. He's
Maybe
excited.
yawn.
Well, I don't know what noise it's making, but it's not excited. It doesn't have any. It's so what I actually an emote that I do love, Kurt, if you can find it, is pauses, which has replaced pause champ. This is what I want from my emotes. It's a cartoon that has very over the top human emotion, which you can't get from a fucking lizard photo. Wait, no, that is not the right one. That's not the right
What
one.
is that? The human emotion. You can really feel it going through. What are you talking about?
I mean,
It's
I
a
can
bit.
sort of see it, but
It's
not
a
from
bit
that.
like that, but that one's the wrong version somehow. I don't know where that one's come from, but yeah, it's that's the one. That's the one. That is an upgrade over the previous pause champ emote.
Wait,
And
what?
This
What's
this
so
is
good
not,
about this?
This is not something that this is not something you can capture with a lizard. It's something you can only do with cartoons because they.
Well, what
can
if they
be
just
given
change
human
that
emotion.
face to a lizard face?
That would be fine if it was a drawn lizard. But the problem with using photographs that are cropped is that they're not humans. They don't have human emotions.
So you're just a
doesn't-
speciesist, huh?
It doesn't. It doesn't invoke emotion to look at a lizard going.
Okay, so bring that back up, Kurt. What emotion does that emote invoke in you? Even
It's like
it's just a blank face.
No, it's not a blank face. It's a wait. It's an.
I don't like this one.
I mean, you are finding some weird versions of this.
This one's not good. This one's
I
not
could make
good.
this in Paint.
Yeah, very possibly, and that's what I'm. But you're not quite getting the pause. You have to get anticipation. You're like
You look like you're
anticipating
Ooga
something
Booga,
coming.
like you've been surprised by fire for the first time. That's not. I don't think that's helping. I mean, I no.
But it's like suspenseful waiting. Is it like
Yeah, it's
anxious
supposed-
waiting?
yeah,
What is
it's
it?
Just, it's suspenseful. You're waiting for something to be concluded. There's a little bit of tension. Anyway, what the fuck were we talking about?
I think that's
emotes.
a
I don't
bad
think emotes
take,
are a big deal on YouTube. Am I just a boomer?
I think
What
you're
are
a
you?
boomer.
Yes, you're a boomer.
I think you're
they
a
literally
boomer.
all season they spammed your egg because they love emotes and they just we see man, we spam egg.
Luckily, some of the default emojis are pretty good though. Like the gorilla emoji, like the ape one. Oh my god, I love that one. I love that one. I
What is
love
the
I love
gorilla
boy.
one?
I love. It's just like him walking, or there's the face. There's the
Have you
gorilla
seen
face.
my new emote?
The
No.
Bren, please.
Bren, please. Have you
Yeah.
seen the Bren, please emote?
The problem with your emotes is the contrast. You never have good lighting, so the contrast whenever you have emotes that are from your stream is awful. It's just a muddy blend of moving
no,
images.
Bren, please is pretty good.
See if you can find it, Kurt.
If you've
I
got a
would
good
say,
monitor, it's fine.
Oh yeah, it's my.
So what if I
monitor's
get the Cinemax like 4K HDR monitor, then I can see your emote properly. If I get the right tech, tech there, I can see. Okay, that's
You have
good.
to project it.
It has led to some pretty funny moments, if I do say so myself, because I've been using the recent VOD audio track separation technology built into OBS so that I can listen to music on my stream without it being recorded in the VODs. So I can only be live DMCA'd, which is a rarity, and it doesn't show up on clips or VODs. But there's been clips of me dancing to music. And on the live stream, it's just, it's a funny little antic. Oh, look, Bren's being a fucking white guy who can't dance. There it is.
Look how poor the
that's
contrast
rough.
is.
Yeah, it's very dark.
No, we can Brian that up.
I mean,
we can fix it in post.
I love the moves you're making there. The shapes you're pulling on the dance floor.
Yeah.
Wow.
Famous
It reminds me of
frog
that one video
Oh.
of like the Russian guy talking to the reporter in like a club, and she like tells him, and he's like, "I don't like you." That's you right there.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. That's the dance.
Oh wow.
But there's been clips of me just dancing, and the only thing you can hear is the creaking of the floorboards of my chair.
That must be such an eerie thing. That must feel like you're watching a horror movie of some sort.
So funny. It's so fucking funny.
Oh my god.
Dude, that was what I was trying to mimic, the alien please dance. This is a great emote. I like this one.
That is a good emote.
I have gone full circle now where the only emotes I like are the dumb ones. Like the really dumb ones.
These emotes are available on YouTube. Don't have any GIF emotes. Don't have any of those.
But
I do think
YouTube chat feels like a level below. YouTube, I don't know if you guys have read YouTube chat.
No.
It is
it's bad.
even.
It's a level below for some reason.
It's even stupider than Twitch chat, and I don't know why. but I think the problem is that the people who post in YouTube chat are making serious dumb comments, whereas the people on Twitch chat are like making meme dumb comments.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to bait people.
Well, YouTube is a much
YouTube
wider
chat-
platform.
Do you think the YouTube chat would be better if it was emote mode only?
No.
No.
Because there's no good emotes.
Yeah.
There's no good emotes.
Well,
so they
you'd have
can't
to
be
foster
better.
that.
Okay,
I'm on your side of us. I actually think emotes are pretty important. I think we shouldn't underrate what goes into like building a community or like taking part in a community. Like this might be a horrible take, but I actually think like removing like the Pepes and stuff from the signs in the arena, it's just like such a small minor change. But I do think it changed like a bit of a vibe check, in the arena itself. And like, it's the small things like that. And like, then you can make the question of like, well, should we really, put something on CBS or, popular TV networks that like, we need Pepes. Otherwise Overwatch League is not going to work. It's not, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying we shouldn't underrate like the small things that goes into like having fun in a community and like taking part of it. Yeah. And if you start removing small aspects, it gradually makes it a less fun place to be part of.
Agreed.
We are going to be premiering this episode on YouTube, so there's a live chat going on right now. So I want to see the best emotes that you can come up with.
Gorilla face,
the best emote combinations.
Yes.
I think the ape strong kind of meme is funny as hell. I love that.
You can get
ape together strong.
You can get far with just the default emoji. You can get
you
far.
can do some good stuff. Moi, I want to see Moi.
That whole emote, the whole copy pasta that's like, what is it? It's like what is it? What?
Oh, you're talking about the 2017
boy,
copy pasta.
Yeah.
Me and my boy so and so.
Yeah.
If I can't fucking remember.
It says if me and my if
my boy Avast was drowning,
if my girl and my boy, I don't fucking know.
I can't remember.
Wait. If me and my boy Sinatra copy pasta. That's fine.
I can't remember.
It's like I think it's comparing.
If Sinatra and my girl both drowning, and I can only save one, catch me at the enemy spawn door with my boy on Tracer, and there's a bunch of like default emotes.
Oh my!
Yes.
There's like the alien face. There's like the heart face with smiles. There's like
this style of meme works perfectly on YouTube. I mean, it just works wonderfully.
I think. I
mean, it has to because there's no other emote options. There's only one choice.
Yeah, true. Anyway, what else was in the article?
Yeah, what was that? What was in it? What is the? Are you okay?
Did Johnny just what?
For some reason, I just unconsciously like unscrewed the bottom of my water bottle, so I just squirted water everywhere. But it's fine.
Why does it have a screw at the bottom?
I don't know. I thought it was just something on there, but apparently
you have like an emergency release valve. Water bottle. That's very odd. It's very odd. I mean, no. Sometimes your brain does autopilot. The other day, I went to take my trash, and I don't know what happened. I don't know what was going on. I feel like I just had like extra microplastics in my blood that day, or something, from our water supply. And so then I like took the trash and I like carried it like without even thinking. I was thinking I was like going out to rake leaves or something. And I carried it in my backyard and I just like emptied it. And then I sat there for a second and I was like, what did I just do? And then because I live in an area that there's so many feral cats in the Salem, I don't know why, but then I hear like a cacophony, like it's like on Helm's Deep when like all the urukai show up at the walls, all the feral cats are like swarming over the top. Like I hear them coming, the little pitter patter, because there's like a little shed where they all live under, and so it's like a tin shed, right? And so you hear the pitter patter, like. like it's a million. And so then I'm like, oh fuck, because there's like banana peels and like some left, some meal scrapings and shit. So I'm over there like, I'm like cleaning this shit up. Like all the cats, like 20 cats surrounding me at this point, and then I had to like, so it was a whole mess. So
why? You said you went out there thinking you were going to be raking leaves. Why would you empty your bag?
No, well, that's the problem. So essentially, when I have like a trash bag in my garage that I'll like take it, like I have these contractor bags, and I'll take them out of the holder, and I'll do this, like to open them up. And so then I like went out here, and I was like, and then just like, so my brain was like off, just totally off. But it was so scary. It was so scary when there's like 30 cats coming at you. It's like it's really scary. I don't know why. They're just so
cats.
It's really terrifying. Well, it's because they're all feral. They don't know the constraints of society that we know. They only know survival, and so they'll take you down. They'll take you down.
We see trash. We hunt. Sug.
What else in the article exists?
Well, we hadn't even got to the fantasy pickup.
No, we haven't. What else is in here?
Got distracted by
the increased
YouTube
quality on the
emotes.
stream, drops, items.
Yeah, that's what's in this paragraph.
If you scroll
By the way, it also
down-
says that this stuff is happening this year because they just announced the deal too late last year to work on it. Is like the official reason that's in this article. Interesting.
I think fantasy. Look, we played football fantasy every year. I'm an addict. Like I've definitely been like the gremlin who like I remember we were in New York. We were in New York with Matt before the finals in Philadelphia, I think, and we're like walking around Manhattan, like everyone's having fun. And I go to we had to go to a restroom because we're in the middle of Manhattan, so we found a Starbucks, and I go to a restroom at a Starbucks in Manhattan, and I sit down, and the first thing I go to is just checking the sit 'em and pick 'em for the next week's football game at a bathroom in Manhattan in a Starbucks, and it was just like one of the worst moments in my life where I just like self-reflected. I was like, what am I doing here? Like, what is actually going on? I am totally like a fantasy fiend. Like everything's on the line, If there's like $50 involved, I'm like, I have to win those $50. I have to take everyone's money and be the best at fantasy.
Yeah,
like,
I get
become
quite
obsessed
into it.
with fantasy.
I'm with you, Johnny.
Really?
Yeah. When we were doing not this year, because this year I was in the US permanently because hey, you can't leave. But the last year when I was in the UK, I was like staying up until 2 a.m. to make last minute adjustments to my fan. That was the year I won, having not watched a single game of football. So staying up until 2 a.m. making last minute adjustments to my team.
But
yeah, I love how you came into this season as well, because you really embraced that you don't know or watch any of the games, and still you won that one season. So you came into this season, you were like drafting, and you were like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do a repeat. I don't watch any games, but I'm going to be the guy who wins despite not watching any games. And then you just flopped, and you picked a horrible roster. It was awful.
This season was fucking ass to play in. I had all of my injuries in the first 2 weeks, COVID injuries like every other week. It was horrific. Like, it was just a terrible... I had Ezekiel Elliott. He caught COVID and was never the same after it.
Yeah.
Like, just didn't perform. Anyway, I'm not going to get into it.
We're going to get the same moments now in the Overwatch League where someone will have, like, Rappel and then Raucus will come in. Well, I mean, that would be, like, the
Maybe
scenario
not
last season, right? No, not Raucus, but I'm just saying, like, that would be the scenario last season where you would, like, maul your brains out, because it's, like, week 2 of the Overwatch League. You finalize your rosters, and you're like, I'm really happy with my team. I'm going to start Raucus or whoever, in my team. And then you're like, oh, well, why is Rappel coming in to replace my fantasy starter?
Well, that sounds like a uniquely Houston Outlaws problem more than anything else. It sounds like a uniquely Houston Outlaws,
that
like
will
crack
happen with
cocaine
Rappel and Fielder, though.
substitutions.
With Dallas Fuel.
But also, they're preseason. This is preseason, so I feel like there's a lot of figuring out exactly what their rotation wants to be still. While Houston Outlaws were just like, they would just hit the crack pipe, and they would just be like, swap them out, like, let's go, let's move them up. We'll play the same heroes, but we're specializing on Koth and Escort. Why not, right? Who knows? Just, I mean, I guess, but also, I don't know.
I think you guys have got the wrong idea as well. It says fantasy pick'em. Isn't pick'em where you're picking the results?
You might be picking the teams, yeah.
It says a fantasy pick'em game. That means that you're trying to predict. It's a predictions game, right?
Oh, so this conversation was completely useless for the past 50 minutes. I'm sorry.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, well, this is Plat Chat.
But anyway, like, it would be cool if they did it for players as well, and like a point system. And then
I mean, especially if they're working with statistics tools in collaboration with IBM, it seems like it would lend towards actual fantasy as well.
Because you had fantasy last year, right? You played in some league, so it was like a functioning, right?
Yeah. But that
Was it
wasn't
good?
Overwatch League official. That's
No, yeah, but I'm just saying you can make it work officially.
Yes, I mean you could. It uses weird metrics. Like the metrics that it uses are very abusable. I want to say, because it's like if you win, you're essentially getting way more stats than everybody else, and you can run like double off tank so that you have 2 divas, so that you just have 1 billion eliminations. You know what I mean? Like instead of ever running a main tank. So there's some weird kinks that you would have to iron out to make a really great system.
I like the old system, the one we were talking about before we started, but like the system on Twitch on season 2, where you would actually have it integrated onto the Twitch page, and you could pick like from a set of questions, like who's gonna have the most limbs, who's gonna win which map, right? And you could earn channel points to eventually earn like Overwatch League tokens. You know, like that was, I think, the system I like best, is when they're very integrated things where you can pick them, and like they're somewhat general. They're not hugely specific. It's not a league, but you're able to like be, able to sort of like add extra stakes to each match, where some people viewers can be interacting with.
They also had like trivia as well, didn't they? For the All Access Pass.
Yeah. That was like a great feature, and I think that should be like the number one thing that should be trying to get back, is that I love that feature.
The All Access Pass was dope. It was like pretty good. There's some good stuff.
It was.
Yeah, don't get me started on the All Access Pass. I feel like that's something.
We don't have to.
Yeah,
but this has been one hell of an episode already. So
you don't like the All Access Pass?
No, I want to maintain a good relationship with the league, and so I don't want to give my true thoughts on the All Access Pass and what happened to it. So I don't want
the disappearance of it.
Yes, the vanishing after the money had been paid.
I like the All Access Pass, but also the replay viewer it kind of supersedes it, doesn't it? Like I'll go back and I'll watch the VODs from individual player POVs.
Sure, it supersedes it
individual perspectives.
VOD viewership, not live viewership. Live viewership is a very different thing. So
I think the fact that you were able to like circumvent the entire observing is flawed, and then just like I'll just buy the pass myself and go watch my favorite players and their own perspectives. I think that was like genuinely a fantastic feature.
And even if you don't think the observing was flawed, there's just something nice to be able to go watch whoever you want to watch. You know?
Oh yeah, I'm not saying that the observing was flawed, but there were certainly people who like stirred up that narrative or whatever, and then they got the All Access Pass and were like, okay, I'm watching a flex support and nothing is happening from this perspective, and they realized that maybe observing is hard. Yeah.
But that is the crux of the reason that a lot of people watch esports is to get better at the game that they like to play, and that just taps perfectly into that like little niche there. Where if you're a flex support player and you are watching the Overwatch League to get better at flex support, well, of course you're going to want to watch from the flex support's point of view. That's much better for your prime enjoyment than watching it from the observers.
I want to see how Repel plays on Oasis, and then how Raucus plays the exact same hero and composition on Eichenwald,
Yes,
I want to see how that works out. That's my thing. That's a genius idea.
Was there anything else in this article?
I mean, they said they're going to grow viewership.
Well, they said they were confident that they were going to grow viewership.
As opposed to saying they were going to decrease viewership. We need to get the viewership lower.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're making massive improvements this year. I am predicting. Plat Chat 2021, big.
The thing is, the Overwatch League definitely did get. Everyone knew though that the viewership was going to go down with the move to YouTube. Like that was just an absolutely known thing. It couldn't have gone any otherwise. And I think that this entire article has kind of missed something that is crucial, which is the discoverability of live broadcasts on YouTube itself. And, YouTube only does something like 17% of its overall watch time is live. I think it's something like 83%, or maybe it's like even higher than that, I can't remember, is VOD viewership. So it makes sense that they normally prioritize feeding people that. But the discoverability is still so shy. Like sometimes I would go and watch CDL. Like whenever I watch the Overwatch League, it's always at the top because I watch it all the time. But if you're a new viewer, which is like me with the CDL, I don't watch it very often. If I type in CDL, I get videos about the CDL before I get the live broadcast. And that happens when I search for Valorant channels as well. Because I don't watch Valorant very often on YouTube. I search for like Valorant Esports and it comes up with YouTube videos before it comes up with the live broadcast of like the thing that I'm looking for. Which seems really counterintuitive to me. Like if someone's making a specific search for a live broadcast, to recommend them videos that maybe hit like the SEO a little bit better ahead of them just doesn't really seem like it makes sense. And I think it's one of the key things that really restricted viewership. It just disappeared from a lot of gamers.
I don't know if they've changed something with that recently, but whenever I go to YouTube now, if there's a channel I'm subscribed to, if they're live, it will be the first thing in the recommendations, like the Valorant Masters Tour, or Valorant Champions Tour. There you go.
Yeah.
Got it.
The examples I'm giving, though, I'm not subscribed to the channel. Like, I'm not subscribed to CDL. I'm not subscribed to all of the different Valorant channels because I don't watch CDL regularly enough to be subscribed to them. And also the Valorant channels, there's like 10 of them. So I don't subscribe to all of those. So they don't pop up for me. And that, I think, is also really important. Like, you can't only feed people the content that they're subscribed to. YouTube, their algorithm works so well because it recommends things. Like, things pop off on the algorithm because they come into your recommended. It's not all via your subscription box.
Final topic of the day. Jake, Overwatch, joins the Houston Outlaws. No one could have predicted this.
No one saw it coming.
No one saw it coming. He's rejoined the Overwatch League. You know, I always looked at Jake, you know, he's grinding away on ranked. The entire year that I lived with him, he would be grinding away at ranked.
Yeah.
The entire time. And he's like pushing, top 10 DPS the entire time. The guy never really dropped off that often. So, I mean, this kind of change when I think there's been almost like, compared to other esports titles, one of the things I've noticed that Overwatch is lacking is just like spokespeople, you know? Like, we've been doing these interview series in Valorant, and we have had no lacking for any sort of like personalities who are quite outspoken and not afraid to like share a lot of their opinions. But in Overwatch, that is a rarity that we have, something that we're working on. But Jake was always one of those players. Like, I don't think it's any understatement to say that he was the face of the league for like the first 2 years of the Overwatch League.
Well, I wouldn't say him outspoken, though, unless you're referring to the fact that he speaks so much. There's so many words.
He does speak a lot.
That he would be outspoken.
I mean, the man, sometimes we would be sat down, we're watching something, we're just watching like a Pokemon unpacking video, and he's going off. He's going off. And I'm like, my God. You can tell that he was in the debate class, whatever.
We used to do VOD reviews under LG Evil, and Jake would we'd sort of sit down and we'd all get ready for them, and Jake would start. And it'd be like 3 hours would pass, and at one point, and Jake would have not stopped talking within those 3 hours. So eventually, we had to stop doing VOD because we realized we couldn't get anything done because Jake was just talking so much. So there was just we realized that we were actually not producing anything meaningful from them. So.
I like this move though. I think it makes a lot of sense. The Houston Outlaws have gained back one of their personalities, the kind of like the representative of the kind of, I suppose, their team. Yeah, this video is so overdramatic as well.
It really is. Holy
dude, what? Here's the thing. This would have capped it off for me. Imagine when he unveils, but then it shows them taking the retired jersey off the wall and giving it back to him. You know? Yeah. Because what are they gonna do about that? You know, they have a live event. Yeah. Are they gonna like smash the case, the glass case, and take it out? Like, what are they gonna do? Because he's back.
Do you think that they made Jake grow the beard to have parallels to Breaking Bad?
Why?
I was just thinking, when I watched that video, I was like, he went away without a beard and he comes back with
the beard.
Does any story where a guy grows a beard, does that Breaking Bad to you?
No, but it's like the parallels.
I don't understand. I don't
get like it. Walter White, he goes away, he's living in a cabin in the woods. And it's not a life for him.
Was Castaway Breaking Bad when Tom Hanks grew a beard because he fell overboard?
In a cabin in the woods.
I mean, I don't want to spoil too much if nobody's seen Breaking Bad.
No, I've definitely seen it. Don't remember him living in a cabin in the woods. Oh, in the final. He already had a beard before that, though.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
But it grew into a full beard.
Oh, right. But that's not the same as Jake.
But it's similar. Like I think it's a TV trope. Kurt can back me up.
I'm gonna be honest. I mean, you might be hitting on the trope part aspect. It's more of the Breaking Bad aspect because I don't think that's unique to Breaking Bad.
But it's definitely a trope that a character goes away and they go away clean shaven and they come back with a beard. And it's a sign of what the fuck is this?
What is happening?
That's this conversation. That's what it is. That's me. It's like, hello, Bren. It's like Jake growing beard is Breaking Bad, and that's me. Like, that's it. That's all it is.
It's a trope, though, right? Like a character goes away, they come back with a beard, matured, wizened. Yeah. They've been training in the mountains. Jake has been training in the ranks.
Every guy goes through like a beard phase, though. I tried to grow a beard last year, and then I hated it. Didn't like it. Did you really? So I'm back to clean shaven. Yeah, I did. I had a pretty. I have like the problem is I have decent coverage, but it doesn't get very thick. And then you have like these annoying gaps. So then I just say, screw it, I'm back to clean shave.
Where, can you find us a picture of the Avast beard? I don't remember ever seeing the Avast beard.
Okay, let me find
I can relate to this because when I grow it out, I get like a fisherman's beard, and it's like all fluffy and just like completely neck beardy. Like it's terrible. But then I watch other people like Matt can grow. Yeah, maybe you should. I mean, I've never groomed my beard. You know, maybe that's it. But I just
yeah.
I got shitty genes. I
will say today, I noticed I was shaven today before this episode, and I'm finally going through puberty. Like I've got like some hair growing around these areas, whereas previously it's been quite sparse.
I don't know. I don't have access to the Overwatch Plat Chat text channel. If I wanted to give it to Kurt.
Put it in the live
chat. The live chat. Okay.
Yeah.
So put this actually around. See, but you'll see immediately why I didn't like my beard. But I did start growing one. I didn't like it. Didn't like it. Not one bit.
I see.
It's not good. It's not good.
You kind of look like Arteezy, the Dota pro.
Wow. Maybe a bit.
Have you ever seen Arteezy with a beard? No. You kind of look like Arteezy.
No. Yeah, I think you look better clean shaven.
Yeah, I don't like my beard.
Yeah, I think Jake could eventually pull it off. It's still in the developmental stage.
I mean, he's shaved it.
Oh, has he?
Yeah, he said it was getting too itchy for him. Oh. Can we pull up Arteezy? I just want to show you the comparison. I mean, that's okay. The beard is a little bit too thick here.
Yeah,
but when it was a little bit less thick, you can see it.
You can sort of see. I can see what you're going for. Yeah, I can see what you're going for, and that.
Yeah,
for sure.
When his beard was a little bit more sparse.
Yeah, squirrely looking white guy. That's a gaming genius. We share that. We share those. Yeah, we share.
I don't see it at all.
Now he has old Avast hairstyle though. He's got old Avast hairstyle.
He does. Old Avast hair is fantastic from your Boston
Old Avast
Uprising
hair
picture.
is not good. Old Avast in general is not. That was. I know people miss him, but I'm glad I've evolved.
The producer's just losing his mind. Kurt's just giggling away, looking up pictures of Avast.
I like the change though for reasons I've already said, but also because his role that he's going to be joining in.
Oh wow!
God Almighty!
There it is.
Yeah. Look at that face, so fresh.
You look like a chipmunk.
You've glown up.
That was me. That was right out the womb. That's fresh out the womb.
You've definitely glown up, I would say.
Yeah. Did Jake also say that he was going to be focusing on mostly coaching,
and he's going to be a specialist player. So it's like
Mangachu. It's like Mangachu for Toronto Defiant last year.
Right, except
is that what Mangachu was doing?
Mangachu was a coach, and he was originally a player, and then became he could also play, but he was a coach, I should say. It's a player coach.
I'm actually really interested to see how well Jake does as a coach. I think there's an obvious expectation that he's going to be excellent at it because he's an intelligent player, because he's intelligent at articulating and speaking as well. But I think as a lot of people, I think, underestimate the challenge of actually coaching. Even if you understand the game to a very high level, there's way more that's involved in coaching and becoming a really good coach than just getting the game. And the best coaches that I've ever talked to think about the game very differently to the way that players think about the game. And I think it's that challenging the player's perspective that helps them be a really good coach. Like they'll often think about the game in terms of like the compositions or the meta and like how the other team's going to respond. Whereas players tend to think about the game in terms of their hero or the heroes that they have and how they counter the other heroes as well on like that more fundamental basis.
It's almost defined from their one POV of their role.
And also they think about it almost like it's a ranked game but pushed to the highest level, whereas coaches tend to think about it as like, no, this is kind of your one unit working together rather than 6 individual people. I'm just really interested to see whether Jake is able to nail it with Houston, because I think this is a team that needs very good coaching to succeed. I think Piggy, Django, Crimzo, these kind of players seem like they have potential but need to be worked on and refined in order to get the best possible out of them. And Juby as well is absolutely another case example of that.
You look at the entire roster. Yeah. I think everyone could be in need of some coaching or guidance of direction. Like you have, Dante can pretty much hold his own, but then you have Hydration coming back to the DPS role, Crimso as a support, KSF as a backup DPS player as well. I think in general, all of this entire team could be in use of some coaching here. And I think Jake is obviously, he knows most roles. He's practicing all the roles. Like, he would do streams where he's like, oh, I'm practicing my Zenyatta. And I'm like, why are you practicing your Zenyatta or Wrecking Ball? But like, he's trying to gain like a fundamental understanding of all roles and like how they play together, and be like an overarching kind of coach. I also think, to add to your point about good coaches as well, you also have to be like mature mentally and like say the right things at the right time and not just, like give feedback every scrim session. Like, that's not going to work. Like, that's going to wear players down. So it's going to be interesting, like, if he can manage to handle all of that, because as you said, like, he'll probably nail like the in-game stuff, I think, in a way. But like how you provide that feedback, that coaching, etc., that's going to be the big question for me, if he can do that. I could also see a world in where he says that he's primarily going to be a coach, but he could actually like step in and play a few games. Like, I think we'll definitely see Jake on the playing field.
That's the plan almost, is that there's probably going to be a meta in the future where, I don't know, a specific hero is needed.
The J Silly, baby.
Yeah. I mean, the J Silly.
Yeah. Junkrat.
J Silly.
Oh, yeah.
J Silly.
Yeah. Yeah. Am I missing something? I'm out of the loop.
That's just what they call it. It's J Silly.
It's what it's called. It has
because
been
it's just
called
Junkrat Silly.
A year.
Really?
Yeah. Have you really never heard anyone in your rank?
I've never heard anyone call it that.
Really? It's like saying that Soldier is called Legs. It's like if you'd never heard of Legs.
I've heard of Legs, never heard. What did you say? J Silly.
J Silly. Like J for Junkrat Silly because it's a silly hero.
It is a little bit like older because Junkrat's so much less out of the meta these days. So, but I mean, you were around when it was in its peak. So I don't know.
Ever.
Okay, well.
That is very weird.
Anyway, yeah, but this is like the role that he's encompassing, is that like he's going to be taking, I think, the mantle of some of the heroes that their other players are not going to want to put time into mastering.
Yeah.
Yes. And crucially, to add to that point, Bren, just going along your trail as well.
Yeah.
Just having someone on your team who can like cover other people's like hero pools. Like if like last year when Blase was forced to play McCree, like that's probably bad for Blase as well, because he doesn't want to play McCree, but now he's forced to play McCree, and it's bad for his mental, and his game as well is like going to deteriorate because he's forced to play a role he doesn't want to, and that's going to be bad like for him. I think having Jake to like fill in, so like, oh, no one can really play this hero, or like doesn't know how to play it or doesn't want to, like Jake can fill in and be like this positive force of energy that just like reaffirms the confidence within the team and doesn't force players too much, to break barriers. But Avast is looking like at me,
I have
like a crazy person.
Insanely different perspective on this than everyone else.
Okay.
I think Houston would be kind of silly to put Jake ever to play unless in an emergency situation.
Okay.
Because in what universe are the hero pools not covered by their current DPS? KSF is a hyperflex. Hydration plays all of the projectiles, and then you have Dante playing Tracer and Tracer and Echo and things like that. Like, what other than Junkrat, what hero does Jake play?
Okay, let me rephrase, okay? There's going to be times this season, and this always happens, specifically with the Outlaws. There's going to be times this season where they're like, we don't know what the fuck we're doing. And it doesn't matter. Like, they might have skilled players who can play those heroes, but they're going to play it wrong, or like confidence is not going to be there. And Jake can be that guy who just like plugs and plays, and it's like, hey, Outlaws, we don't really know what we're doing in this hero pool or meta or whatever. And then he's going to be like, hey, I'm Jake, I'm going to play whatever, and it's going to be a-okay. And then you can kind of like get the confidence back for the team. Like, it's going to happen. It's going to happen at last.
Also, I think that we're ignoring that. Maybe we're about old Outlaws, but now we're completely ignoring the fact that Jake is as a complement coach to Junkbuck. Junkbuck is the head coach for this team, pretty much, alongside Harsha. It's like a co-head coach duty thing going on. And so, like, it's really what is Jake fitting in for the coaching staff alongside Junkbuck. And I'm going to be honest, I don't see Junkbuck being like, Jake, time to hop in, because my perspective is, if your team doesn't know what the hell's happening, and you're like, guys, we got to put in our coach here to play. Of our 3 DPS players that are playing and not retired, let's get our coach to come play. That's like an immediate mental shattering moment. It's like, God, I suck so bad, my coach has to play over me.
No, I don't think so. I think like he's a 100%. He's like a background kind of dude that like steps in once in a while, and it's fine. Like, I don't think you have to read too much into it. Like, oh my God, Jake's gonna replace me on the roster. Like, my career's over. It's
not about replacing you. It's about saying that your team is so fucked that your coach has to come play this roster because you don't know what you're doing.
I see.
Because they would acknowledge Jake's strengths as a player and like what he excels at, and then maybe you could throw out an argument like, hey, is there a possibility Jake could like jump in this one map or like this meta and like alleviate some of the stuff we have going? I really think that he can be useful playing
You have
wise. Not
three
consistently.
hyper-flexible players.
If he plays more than 15% of the maps, I would be shocked.
15%.
No,
That
I'm
is a
saying
large
if he
amount.
would
To
play
the
more.
max.
15%. If he played more, I would be stunned. Okay, so I'm not saying that frequently be like a cornerstone of the Houston Outlaws, but like once in a blue moon, if Jake comes in and just aids the team a little bit, I think he's gonna get more playtime than like Gypsa. Is what I'm saying.
Well,
I think he can
Chips are played
alleviate
for
some of the
one
stuff.
series. 15% is once every 6 maps. That's like 1 every 2 matches.
And I'm saying if he did that, that would be nuts. And I
It would.
think that would be crazy.
ridiculous.
But I think he's going to sub in once in a blue moon.
I think he would sub in like Chipser, like once,
Yeah,
maybe twice a season.
I think
is
they're
what
like in
I
a
would
Houston. Maybe they've somehow vacuum sealed Houston off entirely. They put a giant plastic bag and they vacuumed all the COVID out of there and they've hosted a homestand. That's when you put Jake in for one map. Is like you bring him in and then you throw the jersey from his unretired jersey from the rafters and he catches it in his arms, puts it on him, and then plays a map. Like that's what
I can see your point though, Avast. One of the things I wanted to say is that one of my concerns with this move was that because his role is almost like spread, he said that he's primarily going to be into coaching, but also signed as a player. You're kind of spreading your roles, and you're not setting the expectation, I think, particularly well in terms of what your position is in the team. Especially when you've already got these 2 co-head coaches. Like, is Jake coming in now to supplement the coaches, but also supplement the players? And also, like, he's taking up a roster spot. So the expectation is that he will be performing and playing
Yes.
at some point.
Otherwise, you would just sign him as a coach.
Otherwise, you would sign him as a coach. But what is his role going to be? Are they going to be... Because it sounds like he's leaning more towards the coaching side. But then you're in a weird situation because you've got this hierarchy in terms of, I think... how seriously what you're saying is being taken by the rest of your team. Like, it's a bit different when something is coming from your coaches compared to when it's coming to your peer who plays
Yes,
alongside
agreed,
you.
completely.
And that kind of hierarchy is going to be important to define with this particular move. It's unprecedented. There's nothing really quite like it.
Also, I don't think that like it was a guaranteed like the Houston would only sign him as a coach in terms of because like it benefits Jake to have a player contract versus a coach contract. Jake has the leverage to just be like, hey, I want a player contract here. So and it technically benefits Houston in a way in that if they need him to come in, they can, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I don't think if they wanted to sign him as a coach, they would have only signed him under a coaching contract. I don't think that's necessarily true because Jake has the options to say like, it benefits him to be under a player contract. I
don't know whether that's true though, because
I think he does. You get extra protections as a player.
The league mandates certain terms as a player that you can't get out of, right? And as a coach, you could take... I mean, Jake's had a player contract before. He could take all the good things, the protective terms, out of the player contract and add them into his coaching contract and get rid of all the stuff that he doesn't like. He could just do that. You have way more flexibility in a coaching contract for anything that you would want than you do in a player contract, which is very boilerplate.
It's a little bit harder to get those, I think. And also, I think Jake himself probably wanted to have the player contract. I think Jake,
that's what I think
Jake wanted to have that.
And this is something we haven't talked about very much, but I think personally that Jake, although he's in a role where he's going to be coaching as his primary focus, is so wired to be a player and to be coming at it from that player point of view that he is still going to be putting in a lot of time grinding the game, and his knowledge and like the things that he's going to be helping the team with all come from that aspect of it. So I would not expect Jake to be a strategic coach or a big picture or deciding which players get picked or whatever. That's going to be junk bug. That's going to be to some extent harsher as well. But I would see Jake as being a player that if you get a situation where Blase has to play McCree again for them, where it's like Happy is on McCree and they're not really pleased with how Happy's playing it, even though he's nutty mechanically, he keeps getting caught out of position or whatever. I could see Jake being the guy that studies Happy's VODs relentlessly, plays a shit ton of McCree in ranked, watches other top McCrees, and then comes to Happy with like, here's what you do to improve your current game. And at that point, you are doing what they call in sports positional coaching. You are positionally coaching the micro of the game. And that is something that Jake could do better than pretty much any other coach that's in the game. You fix the micro. And it's not just fixing it as well. It's offering new perspectives of how to play. And it's going away, and while Happy's practicing his mechanics in ranked, Jake's doing all of the research of like how the other players play and what they're doing right that Happy isn't doing, and then brings it back to him and presents it to him. That's where I would see enormous value from Jake on this roster. And I think that fits his skill set as well. It's just about whether or not
to add on
he
to that,
wants to do that.
Real quick as well, is one of the things that Jake's been learning this year is his Korean. And now that he's part of a mixed roster, I cannot think of a better person to be in the position that he's in currently. Because his Korean is coming along pretty swimmingly. I think he's been practicing it now for almost a year, I want to say, maybe. I think he began sometime in like maybe March, April time. But yeah, it's coming along like to a point where it's conversational. And like the more he learns, especially playing in a mixed roster and coaching in a mixed roster, he can be the bridge of the gap, right? The thing that has been the downfall of so many mixed rosters, which has been these cliques developing internally between the Korean players and the Western players, is you're trying to put somebody in a position to erode away those barriers, and Jake's set up to do so.
I mean, I think Jungbuck also does that pretty well.
He should,
also,
right?
Harsha, even though he
Harsha
doesn't speak Korean that well, I think Harsha does that.
I mean, Harsha's literally only been part of he was part of the Shock, which was like a mixed roster.
Yeah,
Vancouver, which was full Korean.
Vancouver was just full Korean, and now
another mixed. Yeah, I think and he has got good. But I'll tell you my personal opinion. I think this is either going to be, as someone that has worked with Jake, and you guys have all worked with Jake too, but it's a broadcaster role. It's been more I worked when he was a player, and like someone that and knows Jake and stuff. And you guys, I think this is either going to be a really good move, and it's going to be like a pretty amazing like move that Houston makes, or it's going to be kind of a bust. That's how I feel. It's going to be one of the two.
It's going to be good or bad?
It's going to be well, but I don't think you can have middling success, right? You can have something that's like you achieve some of your goals, but you have middling success and others are like no success ones. I think this is going to be either great or terrible. That's how I don't think there's going to be a middle.
As in, you think that there's a very realistic possibility that it actively hurts the Houston Outlaws having Jake as
and not because of Jake, and it has nothing to do with Jake being an amazing asset or stuff. But I think, like you hit upon and Bren hit upon, badly defined roles that and conflicts are just that's a killer. That's a killer. And you can have tons of people that are experimental with that are able to work with multiple rosters or mixed rosters and do this, but you're still at the end of the day dealing with players in this environment. So poorly defined roles. I think Jake is extremely intelligent and he knows how to do broadcast stuff, but personally, I think one of his worst aspects is clear and concise communication and dealing effectively with players and having them respect him as a coach, right? And it's not that he's not mature and he's not intelligent and he not make good decisions, right? But you still have to deal with the fact that he's now a player coach and they played with him before. He plays ranked all the time. He's Jake, right? So I think these sort of issues are like, because people always assume this guy talks a lot, this guy's funny, he's going to be really good at coaching or broadcasting. No. You're not. Like, that's not at all how it works. They're very distinct skill sets, right? And it's not that Jake can't perform them. He's unproven. And I don't know if it's necessarily going to be an immediate, easy transition for him, right? Sure. So I think it's going to be something where these underlying issues are going to be either something that works out amazingly, and it's going to be a great compliment for the team, or it's going to be a disaster in terms of like maybe not actively blowing up the team, but rather like it is not going to achieve any of the goals they want. And it's just because of how Jake is as a person and that he's like so intelligent, so good and so well spoken, but not necessarily concise, or it's a new skill set for him to effectively deliver feedback to players in a way that they're going to respect it, right? On top of the already blurred coach and player lines, and also if who knows, right? Maybe Houston management one day is like, screw it. I want Jake to play these matches, right? They just do some sort of crazy org shit, right? And Jake's like, I don't want to play these, or like Jake's like, yeah, I'll play these matches. But the coach is like, well, maybe I don't want to play these matches. But they have this weird conflict of interest here, right? Where Jake is their big marquee golden boy, and they want him to play these matches for this time. And the coach is like, maybe that's not the best bet, but they just go with it. And like already you see there's just interlocking just conflicts. Mm-hmm. So I think it's going to be one of those two scenarios myself.
Yeah.
As someone that thinks Jake is very smart.
To me, it comes down to how they actually use him. Like when I'm thinking about him, I think he would be a great positional coach. I think he's got the skills required to be able to grind a hero in ranked, figure out the quirks of it, look at a bunch of different VOD material to be able to deliver that feedback back to a player. But if the lines end up getting blurred or he tries to, I don't know, stretch a little too far outside of what he is really good at, then I could see it being a non-factor. I think, personally though, I think worst case scenario is you get to the end of the season and you just don't understand even why Jake was there. Like I don't really see it getting worse than that. Is like
I guess it should be more clarified that that's probably what I mean by worst case scenario. Like it was kind of just like he was the appendix of the team and that he served no formal use. Like that's more what I'm saying. Like right, it's not that he was actively, I guess, detrimental unless he suddenly burst, like an appendix. But I would say that like it's more of that scenario.
The potential of this move though is quite massive, I think, for the team overall.
I think it could be,
for sure.
I think
it
could be good. It has some good potential. 100%. Yeah.
He's the best candidate. I think you said it right. He's the best possible candidate to be in this position. 100%.
Okay. You guys ready to move on?
Yeah.
We've got one final segment.
Have we?
That we forgot to put in the Runner Show.
Oh, really?
Yep.
What is that?
It's the classic. We almost forgot about it.
Oh.
Can't believe you forgot about it as well?
Yeah, I forgot about it.
You didn't do it last week, so
we didn't do it last week.
It's my Bren's Player of the Week.
We didn't do it last week. I thought you were stopping it until a sponsor arrived. I thought you were trying to hold out.
I'm not. Listen, chill. Cool your jets, sunshine.
All right.
I'm not. Listen, when there's a good Player of the Week, there's a good Player of the Week. And there was a good Player of the Week last week. But I've pushed it up.
Oh, it's the same person that would have won it last week?
They would have won it last week, but they're going to win it now.
Okay.
And the person I'm giving it to is the one, the only, Lucio Dad. Because this video made my fucking day when I saw this. This was so good. This, he apparently plays Lucio and I think Mercy as the only two roles. He responded to me on Twitter as well.
Oh, really?
I quote tweeted this. Yeah. Oh no, I quote tweeted something on my Twitter. But he gets into it, man. He is loving the game, and I am guilty of this actually. When I play like any hyper mobility hero, I'm also ducking and weaving a little bit.
In your head,
I duck and weave a little bit. I get into it, so I know where he's coming from with this.
My favorite is when people play Reinhardt and they move with the swings. I've seen this many times, and they're like. And they swing with the hammer on the screen. It's great, fantastic. But the thing is, crucially, with Lucio that here, is because you would think that it is fake, but then you watch him actually wall ride and having like some kind of understanding, like I want to wall ride here and go this way. So like he's actually an experienced player.
Yeah,
so he's played Overwatch and
well.
like it's lovely. I love it.
He's got a sick rig too. Look at it. He's got a sick setup, I have to say. I mean, it looks like he has the actual mouse and PC and such,
And the best thing is as well is that at BlizzCon, he is going to be 1v1ing Krusty.
Yeah.
As part of the Shock versus the World. I think he needs to get a rug. He needs to get a rug.
Fucking
the chair moving around, I think, is pretty bad for his back.
Oh yeah, I mean that can't be great for him.
I don't think it's good for the ergonomics.
I don't understand what the pivot points are. He's using his legs to move the chair, but when he moves back in, presumably he's like pulling on the mouse in order to get back into the desk.
Like,
is he just doing it with his feet?
Yeah, you can do it pretty easily. I know you're getting on a bit.
Look at your arms. Your arms are counterbalancing you, moving backwards and forwards.
Okay, let me keep them stationary.
If you try and keep your arms in the exact same position and then wiggle backwards and forwards, it's kind of difficult.
No, it's not. You're just unflexible.
No, it's you.
That man is in better shape than you.
You use your arms slightly to counterbalance when you pull yourself back in. You use your core and then you slightly move your arms.
I can do it. Fine.
You're moving your fingers, mate.
APM.
You are. I'm watching your fingers move.
My fingers.
I'm watching your fingers moving.
I'm not moving them.
Look at these fingers. They're moving.
They're stationary.
Well, I think he's just moving his whole body and like he's just ducking and weaving. Like that's it. Like that's all.
Yeah.
It's not that complicated. Like I think he's just kind of ducking and weaving in a chair.
I love it.
I don't understand the issue either, Josh. Like, if you move your hands a little bit, like, it's not,
But if you move your hands, your mouse is going to move, so your aim's going to go off, so you're going to miss your shot.
His mouse was moving. That's the whole point. No, his mouse was moving. That's the whole point. He's so into it. He's moving his whole shit. His whole shit's moving. Yeah. That's the thing. Everything's fucking moving.
It's a cool video, Josh.
It is. No, it is a cool video as well. It's really cool.
It's nice.
No, turn this into like a statics lesson.
I'm looking forward to seeing him roll Krusty in the 1v1.
Krusty versus Lucio Dad.
Do we know what does Lucio Dad have a rank? Is he
I
ranked?
think. Yeah, I think it was Plat, wasn't
I
it?
think he just plays deathmatch, but I'm not
Oh, really?
sure.
Does he only play
Which
that?
means he's
Well, he
fucking
might be a DM lord.
perfectly suited for taking on Krusty.
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
Lucio DM Lord. Like he has no inhibitions holding him back. You know, he has been refined in the DM.
He's dueling Tracers there. I didn't even realize he's fighting
That's
a
so.
Tracer.
He's actually been born for this. He's been
Is this
born
the
for
new
this
map
duel.
as well? Is he playing
Yeah,
on
he's Kanazaka.
Yeah, Kanazaka. Yeah, Kanazaka.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
been born.
Yeah,
He's
this
like
is
an
my player
MG
of the week.
lord.
Good player of the week, I
Well
think.
deserved.
It's
Yeah,
the
he was-
best one you've had.
He was supposed to get it last
I
week.
think so.
He didn't. Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, he went viral. That's what the corporations say.
Yeah,
You make it go viral. The term viral has. I don't think. I don't know. I only use it ironically now. But somebody in my ranked game yesterday said, "I'm trying to go. Oh, I'm viral. You may have known me from a Noob Hunter video." It was somebody.
Noob Hunter,
Somebody
yeah.
called. Someone.
Was it Wyatt?
No, it wasn't Wyatt. It wasn't Wyatt. Someone called X Hamster. Some girl called X Hamster playing Mercy on my team.
Right.
Someone was like, someone on my team was trying to be fucking creepy, and they were like, "Oh, I recognize your name," like because her name's X Hamster.
Because of what?
X Hamster being
Being what?
an 18+ adult site.
Oh, right. I see.
You didn't know that?
No, I didn't
oh,
know
you didn't.
that.
Oh, whoa, that's news to me. Look at this fucking guy. Whoa!
What the hell?
Oh my god! Okay, that's it. See ya. Bye. Spot. Okay, going down.
Damn, someone fucking what's going on?
Go out of here. That's
We're
it.
trying to get a sponsor.
We're trying to get sponsored.
We're trying to get sponsored. Are you serious?
End the show.
Oh, God.
Cut it.
It's just Google. What?
Oh, that's wonderful.
Cut it.
Might have to blur some of that in post.
That's,
Oh my
I'm having to
God.
talk with my HR is going to talk to me after this one. They're talking to me.
Wait until Matt Morello finds out about this.
This is not good.
Oh my. Okay.
Yeah, I just gave myself some work, didn't I?
All right. Cool. Good talking to you guys.
Oh, God.
You could just. I think that's so
Good
funny
work.
if you blur that.
Oh, good work.
Yeah. I think you perhaps leave that in.
Oh
as a
my
warning.
god.
Yeah,
Wow.
we'll keep it. I just got to
Great
blur
player of the
some
week,
the
though.
text.
Great player of the week.
Yep. Very
Yeah,
good.
really good. Really
What
good.
did that say?
Yeah.
No,
think
it
I
did.
saw-
I'm never gonna believe.
You're just gonna
well.
say it out loud? What do you what's the
No, but
point?
we stopped recording, haven't we?
I don't think we have. We haven't stopped recording, you idiots!
Stop.
Everyone's like over here, like, ooh, what are you doing? What are you
I
doing?
thought we'd stop recording.
My God, you're killing me here. You're
You want
killing
me to end it
here.
now, or should we just keep
Please cut it. Just.